Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tales from the Backlog, a gaming deep dive podcast. I'm your host, as always, Dave Jackson, he, him.
I'm Scott Danielson, he, him.
And today we'll be covering Hitman 3 on the show. But first, if this is your first time listening, first of all, thank you for stopping by. Would appreciate if you enjoy the show, and for all the returning listeners as well. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting it however you can. Share in Discord servers, tell a friend, leave ratings and reviews on the podcast apps. If you're here on YouTube, hit like, leave a comment, tell us what you think about Hitman 3. And you can also support monetarily on Patreon. Patreon.com/RealDaveJackson is the place to do that. And for anyone who has not played Hitman 3 and you're just here because you love me and Scott, here's the spoiler policy. We're not going to spoil, okay. We'll just say this. We're not going to get into the nitty gritty of Hitman level stuff until the spoiler section. And we'll also save the story stuff for then. We will talk about, like, where do you go in this game? We'll talk about what the levels are like. We'll probably get into that in the non-spoiler part. I wouldn't consider that a spoiler. If anything, that's going to make you more excited to get into some of these levels. So there's a timestamp, as always, down in the show notes for when spoilers begin. Until that point, you are safe. So, as you heard at the top of the show, Scott Danielson's back here with me today. Scott's a many-time guest on the podcast and a longtime friend in real life of mine. And he's deadly with all manner of household objects. Scott, it's good to have you back.
It's good to be here. And honestly, how do you know that I'm not just like a secret agent that is here to do my very competent impersonation of a podcast guest?
That's something I hadn't considered until now. I bet you Agent 47 could kill somebody via a video conference call.
Oh yeah.
It's especially good to have you back on this episode today because previously together in the very, very early days of Tales from the Backlog, we covered the first two Hitman games together, the reboot series. Hitman 2016 was episode 3 of the podcast, and Hitman 2 from 2018 was episode 15 of the show. And so, first of all, we're here to complete our World of Assassination trilogy together. Long time coming. And also, this is the point where I'm going to tell people this episode's going to be a little bit different because we have about 7 hours of Hitman podcasts under our belt with much worse microphones. We'll throw that out there, at least on my part. But we're not going to explain how Hitman works in this episode. We've covered that in twice to exhaustion. Yeah. So those old episodes, I think the content of them holds up. It's just bad microphone on my part because it was fucking episode 3 of the show.
Early days. It's the early days.
Early days. So
you've come a long way since then.
If anyone hasn't gone back to like 2021 and listened to very early Tales from the Backlog, here's a chance to go do that. So, but anyway, we're completing our trilogy. I'm really happy to have you here to talk more Hitman.
I'm so excited, man. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I have not stopped playing these games since we covered them before. I mean, the hour counts in the 600 or 700 range at this point, probably.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite games and probably as close to like a forever game as you could get without being like a literal live service like MMO or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they tried that. It didn't quite work out for them. And then they have found, we'll say, more wholesome ways to create a forever game. IOI has. So speaking of, the game today is Hitman 3. Specifically, we are talking about the Hitman 3 campaign. This game was released as Hitman 3, and then we went through a whole series of naming and packaging debacles with these games. Now we've arrived at the Hitman World of Assassination Trilogy. You can just buy it as that on your consoles or on Steam. But we're talking about Hitman 3. Again, we talked about the first two already. So specifically that campaign and some of the new additions too.
I highly recommend that like anybody who's not played any of it and is maybe has their interest piqued by this conversation, like buy it all together, experience all together. Like, yes, it did come out as 3 separate games and, went through all kinds of trials and tribulations. I think they were testing a lot of stuff, both in terms of like game design and game monetization schemes and stuff like that. But I think that like every part of it has evolved over the time that those games have come out and even since. And now like what stands alone as the Hitman World of Assassination game is so much more than the 3 games that came out in
Yeah.
2016, 2018, and 2021.
Right, exactly. So we'll talk about some of the things that have been added to it, some of the celebrity DLC events. We'll talk about the freelancer mode. We'll talk about all of that stuff. But the game that we're going to focus on is that campaign, really. Hitman 3, stealth action game developed and published by IO Interactive for PC and consoles in 2021, including a very cursed streaming version on the Switch. I don't know if they've fixed that on the Switch 2 yet, but PC and consoles. This is the third game in the Hitman World of Assassination Trilogy, which again, you can buy it under that name after much confusion and turnover. The main credits for Hitman 3, the director is Matthias Engstrom, and apologies in advance for pronunciations. Producers on the game, Marcus Friedel, Celine Gill, Jesper Nielsen, and Kareem Busofa. Writers on the game, Nick Price and Michael Voigt. Art by Alexander Anderson, and music composition by Niels by Nielsen. And elevator pitch time, if you don't know what Hitman 3 is, I say Agent 47 is back, and this time it's personal. Scott, what would you say?
It's just, that's so good. Like,
It
as
is.
a writer, I could not write a better one. So I just went a little bit more explanatory with it. I said 47 and the gang are back to finish things once and for all, and in the process managed to deliver all of the sandboxy goodness you wanted, as well as a narrative conclusion you didn't know you needed.
Yes, exactly. Playtime, you already mentioned yours. For people who are not going to play this as a forever game, each of these campaigns are about 10 hours long if you just want to play each level one time, although they are very replayable. Like, again, outside of like a live service or like multiplayer competitive game, Hitman's one of the most replayable things out there. I have now played the Hitman 3 campaign twice, around 10 hours for each playthrough. And I did play a few hours of the freelancer mode as well. So, Scott, you said you've got many, many, many more hours than that. But you're nodding your head there. That length for just like a straight campaign playthrough sounds about right.
I think so. And I think, honestly, like, for a first time play, this one might actually be the shortest, like a little on the shorter side compared
Yeah.
to Hitman 1 and 2. Especially if you've played them, you already know how Hitman works, you know how to approach it.
Hmm.
This one has, we'll get into it in a little bit, but like this one has a few fewer levels than the previous games did.
Hmm.
I think they pack a lot in there, so it doesn't feel like cheap or anything like that. But they kind of beat through the finale of the story pretty efficiently at this point.
Yeah, I would say that for sure. Histories with Hitman and the series. Now, this is ordinarily, I would say, well, we covered this in the previous episodes. I don't remember anything about what we said in the previous episodes. I'm sure they're great because it's us, but I don't remember. Like, remind me and refresh any of the listeners, I guess. What's your history with the Hitman series? When did you first get in? Did you play any of the old games before they did the big reboot?
I did not. So I was one of the people that was like a big fan of Google Stadia in that service's short-lived lifespan back in, like, it was like, I guess it was the perfect thing to have around the beginning of the pandemic,
Yeah.
when everybody was, locked up at home, and it was a game streaming platform, so I was able to play games at like higher graphics qualities than I had any hardware in my house to do, because
Hmm.
I haven't owned like a console or a high end gaming PC in ages. And that's kind of where I stumbled across it. They did this thing that I think a lot of the consoles do, where they release, this month's free game is, whatever. And one month it happened to be Hitman. I think it might have even been Hitman 2. And uh, I was like, I've always known about these games, and I picked it up and played like a level or two, and I was like, oh, this is extremely for me. And I went and paid full price for like all of the content that was available at the time. Um, I have since, that shuttered. I have since rebought all of that content on Steam. I play on my Steam Deck most of the time nowadays.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Yeah.
It runs pretty well. It doesn't look. You don't get like the really really sick like ray tracing stuff that you get in like the
Hmm.
New York map or even the first map we'll talk about from this game. But it looks fine enough, and it
Yeah.
runs pretty well. Something that they do on Steam occasionally is they'll sell like all of the older Hitman games on like a super discount. Like you can get all like 4 or 5 of them for like a total of $4.
Yeah.
And so I did do that not that long ago, and I tried to load up like some of the early like Codename 47 and Hitman 2, and like I'm sure that they were great if you fell in love with them at the time, but after playing the World of Assassination games, I found them just like really difficult and really clunky. Yeah, I want to like them. I want to spend more time with them, but like every time I load it up, I just feel like I can feel my brain going, I'd rather be playing World of Assassination right now. So
Yeah.
hoping to get into that at some point, but never. Hitman 2016 was my first foray into the Hitman games.
Yeah. That makes sense. It is tough to do something Hitman that's not this after playing this for so long. I did play one of the original Hitman games. I remember renting it and for the Xbox 360, and I fucking hated it. But I just like I was trying to play it like another third person shooter basically, or
Mhm.
like a stealth game like a Splinter Cell or something I'd played back in the day.
Yeah.
And as anyone knows who's played Hitman, those are not how you play Hitman. And so I took it home. I tried to play it that way. Fucking hated it. Took it back, and then when Hitman got rebooted, I was like, "Oh fuck Hitman! Like those games suck." And it wasn't until I think the Watch Out for Fireballs podcast started covering them, and they were talking about, why is this new game, this new reboot so good? And then that kind of got me curious, so I tried it out, and here we are. It was episode 3 of Tales from the Backlog. I really wanted to talk about Hitman when I started this podcast.
Mhm.
So yeah, and then Hitman 3, both of us were probably there right the day it came out. I mean, I bought it basically right away. And that part's not so interesting. I also own the old Hitman games again. I bought them all on GOG. They'll all go on sale for 99 cents a piece. And I will play them again sometime now that I kind of have a better idea of how to approach it. But with Hitman 3 here specifically, top level thoughts wise, I have two prevailing thoughts. Okay. The first one's very short. This is more Hitman World of Assassination. It's fucking awesome. These are some of the greatest games ever made. And the second thought is that I don't know if this was intentional. I don't know if this was intentional from the beginning, but we know that IO Interactive is making a James Bond game. It's when this episode comes out, it'll be out in a couple of weeks. And this game really feels like them kind of stretching their wings and exploring like what would a more linear type of, or like mission objective based action stealth game be like. And like when I was playing it back when it first came out, I noticed it. And then when they announced that they were doing First Light, I was like, oh fuck, like Hitman 3 felt like they were practicing for something like this, and not in a derogatory way. Like I think they do both things well. Like you still have the classic clockwork Hitman levels. And then sometimes within them, you've just got like some extra objectives that feel like spy stuff, or like the last level in this game is a linear train level, and it's basically an action stealth level. It's not really like a Hitman level.
It feels a little John Wicky.
Yeah, for sure. And or like the train level in GoldenEye or something like that. Like video game train levels are fucking awesome, and like
Mhm.
I was trying this out, and that's the main thing that I got from this is like it's a mixture of like a little bit more of that like classic cinematic action stealth type stuff. Like you might, if I was going to say, if they made a movie, they did make a Hitman movie. I think it was terrible.
Yeah, they made 2 and they were bad.
Yeah. If they made another, these are the types of things that 47 might do alongside taking out assassination targets. So it's a really good game. I like it a lot. It's just very interesting. Like they're trying some new stuff in here, and we'll get into that stuff as we go.
Yeah, I always like being able to notice that kind of thing happening with developers. Like this is a brief side tangent, but like I every now and then I'll dip my toes into No Man's Sky. I don't know if that's a game that you have ever played.
I have not. I'm so intimidated by the idea of
Totally
in
understandable.
2026, like too much.
I totally get that. It is basically a massive like space sandbox, but they've been working on a new game for a while, and it started to become obvious that like the free updates they keep pushing out for No Man's Sky are basically like tech tests for the things that they're planning on putting in that game.
Hmm.
And I feel like something similar is happening here, where I think we talked about this a little bit when we talked about Hitman 2. We didn't have as much information about the 007 game that they're making, but at the time we at least knew that they were planning on it. And I think we talked about how like I'd be perfectly happy if it just played like a Hitman game, but all the proper nouns were changed to James Bond
Mm-hmm.
proper nouns. We now know that's not the case. We've seen some like gameplay footage and stuff, and it's definitely going to be more like a little bit more on rails. It seems
Mm-hmm.
definitely more cinematic. But you're right. Like they're testing out a whole bunch more of that stuff in Hitman 3 than they did in the first two installments.
Yeah, and I
Which
did
works
look it
really
up.
well.
Like the development of 007 First Light began before Hitman 3 was completed. They were probably doing pre-production for several years, like alongside finishing up Hitman 3. So again, I don't know if it's an intentional where they're like, "Hey, we gotta try some, so we gotta practice," but it sure feels that way, and it doesn't really feel out of place. It still feels like Hitman. You're still playing Hitman. It's just like there's specifically that train level is not one of these clockwork levels. It's a train level with a bunch of dudes, and you do Hitman stuff to complete it. You're not necessarily doing James Bond stuff, but like there's other stuff, and we'll talk about that more as we go. But Hitman 3, it's fucking great. I can't wait to talk about it more, and we're gonna do just that after this music break. So in Hitman 3, as always, you play as Agent 47, voiced as always by David Bateson. 47 is a genetically engineered assassin picking up after the events of Hitman 2. Agent 47 is on the hunt for the leaders of this shadow puppet master organization called Providence, who control world events and were also responsible for his creation, his upbringing, his assassin training, and some of his past that he part of the storyline of the first couple games was regaining some memories about his upbringing there. Real quick, just want to give David Bateson flowers per usual. The performance for
So great.
47 is so good. There's there are so many layers to the performance that on the surface is just very deadpan all the time. 47's low-key the funniest video game character ever created, and I just want to give this actor their flowers. It's so good.
And he's been doing it the whole series or most of the
Yeah.
series, right? Like
I think it's all of it.
I
Yeah.
think he and Diana have both been consistently voiced by the same person for most of the games, if not
Yeah.
all. And they are both all the voice talent is like on point in this game. Like
Right.
Arthur Edwards and Lucas Gray get a whole lot more like screen time
Mhm.
in this than they did in previous games, and they're so good. There's a lot of monologuing that happens.
Yeah.
Everybody just like nails it perfectly.
Yeah, the Hitman games have always had like this conspiracy babble, tone to them. The story is just in the first two games, I would say the story is just kind of like shuttle me along, tell me about these shadow organizations and tell me what piece of shit billionaire or like weapons dealer or whatever I have to kill in this mission. Hitman 3's story is a little bit more personal. Like I said, you start out with this story about Providence and like, yeah, we have this evil shadow organization. It's carried over from Hitman 2. 47 is on the tail of like the last couple of remaining members of it. But then the story shifts a little bit way through and it becomes more than it's ever been. It becomes a story about like what does 47 want to do? And what like you're going to keep killing people through you're an assassin. You never stop doing that. But like the motivations behind the assassinations, they stop being like 47 was given this target by his handler agency and more like 47 wants to take these people out because they fucked up people around him.
Yeah, and they start laying the groundwork for that narrative like right away. Like
Yeah.
we can unpack this a little bit more later as we get into the actual Hitman 3 story, but like
Yeah.
brief spoilers for the build up through Hitman 1 and 2 is just that like as the story develops, we eventually find ourselves going after like the three most important people in this Providence organization, and that's
Hmm.
where Hitman 3 begins. Like we
Yeah.
show up on site on in the first mission, planning to get all three of them in one place. And so like one or in the first or second like major cutscene, they're already having 47 and Lucas Gray have these conversations about like who are you going to be with a score to settle without a score to settle, and
Yeah.
like
Right.
what are you going to do when this is all done? This is all you've, especially 47, who like doesn't who lacks so much memory of his own life. Like
Hmm.
what are you going to be if not an ICA assassin?
Yeah. And the answer is with the new freelancer mode. I think it's just like 47 is just going to be a freelance guy. But this Hitman 3 story is all about him taking control of what he's doing, at least. Like again, he doesn't stop being an assassin, but he stops taking orders from people and he starts doing things that he thinks that he should do. Which
Yeah,
and like as we said in the other Hitman episodes, and as Hitman fans know, every single one of your assassination targets in Hitman games, they all have to go immediately. They're all the worst people who've ever lived, or the worst people living at this current time, we'll say. So they all have to go. You're not like, you don't get an assassination mission to go like kill like a school teacher or something like that. It's all just like the worst billionaires that have ever existed.
yeah. It ends up feeling a little bit like a redemption arc, but not in the way that like, oh, all of the things you've been doing this whole time are bad. More just like, I'm going to be doing it because I choose to, not because I am a weapon to be wielded by other people.
Right. So yeah, the storyline of Hitman 3 is partly about 47 becoming like an actual person who can make decisions instead of just being a tool to be wielded by other people. So I honestly, I don't play the Hitman games for the story, and honestly, I don't know a lot of people who do, but I will say like the Hitman 3 story is interesting, and like I think this game did the best job of creating intrigue within the story about like, so you have like some of these characters on that are peripheral to 47. Diana, his like handler, his longtime handler, Gray, their relationship has changed a bunch of times through the games, but like now Gray is like his kind of partner at the beginning of the game. They're working together.
Hmm.
Um, and they've known each other for a really long time. So there's more intrigue about like what do these people want, or like is someone about to like really betray 47? Like they never for me created cutscenes where I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that this person just did that." Like that never happened in Hitman 1 and 2. And 3's got some of those.
Yeah, like I was recently watching I want to say like No Clip has a really great documentary series
I don't
on
doubt that.
some of these
They're the
Hitman
best.
games. I think back from like before Hitman 3 came out actually. And I remember listening to some of the developers talk about how like in order for 47 to be the character that they wanted, which was like this kind of so blank slate he could be anyone, they needed to have these peripheral characters that served as like the kind of like emotional and like decision making touchstones
Mhm.
that a character without autonomy like 47 can't really be, which is what Diana and Lucas Gray end up kind of acting as. But then in this game, like they kind of take a step back, and
Mhm.
we there are several instances where 47's kind of on his own, and we get to see him like decide what's important and make a decision about how to move forward on his own
Yeah.
rather than doing whatever they say.
Yeah, and so when we do our spoiler discussion, as we typically do, we'll go through and talk about, our favorite stuff about the levels. We will also talk about how the story develops as we go through there. But for now, I will say it is a bit more like traditionally like cinematic than the first two games were, and I do think it has more intrigue. It's more interesting than the first two games, probably because it is more focused on 47 as a person and decision maker finally. So that is cool. Throughout the game, you will travel to several locations worldwide, which is always the coolest part about a Hitman game. I'm glad I got to experience this one time where like a new Hitman game was coming out, and I was like, I can't wait to see what levels they're going to take us to. What locations are we going to go to? So as you're on this hunt for the Providence leaders, you'll go to a big skyscraper in Dubai, kind of a stand-in for the Burj Khalifa, a countryside manor in Dartmoor that has huge like Knives Out movie vibes, You'll go to a warehouse rave near Berlin, which is a really cool location for a
Just
Hitman level.
such a cool design,
Yeah,
aesthetically, conceptually.
absolutely. You'll go to a more sprawling level in Chongqing, China. You'll go to a winery in Mendoza, Argentina, and then there is a train level. There's also an island resort level or island community level that was released as DLC, which I did play also. What's cool about these, like running through these levels, there's a ton of variety in like the types of places that you're in. In Dubai, it's like this very vertically structured skyscraper level. In Dartmoor, that's the big mansion level, and you have a whole story that's like, we'll do like a Diet Knives Out thing for 47 to take part in. The warehouse rave, it's just like it's a big rave in the German countryside. It's a really interesting place to have a Hitman level. Hitman levels, for anyone who didn't play, they're traditionally these big clockwork spaces full of NPCs, like hundreds of NPCs, all doing their thing. They have their schedules, they have their routines, and your job is to figure out like, I need to get into some places I'm not supposed to get to. The games are all about hide in plain sight, so it's not like you're sneaking in the shadows a lot of the times. You're puzzling out like, how does this place work? And how do I do Hitman stuff in here? How do I do that all without getting seen? And so like a rave in a warehouse is a fucking cool idea for one of these levels. The city level in China is like, there's multiple locations kind of in like a more classic Hitman level style. The winery's fucking cool. And then, like we said, you've got that linear train level, which is just what video game train level doesn't rule, except for the one in Shadows of the Empire. That one sucks. But it's a pretty classic format.
They tend to be like some of the most memorable levels of video games that have them.
But yeah, these levels, just kind of, we'll get into the details later on, but any like top level thoughts about like the types of levels and spaces that you go to in Hitman 3?
I think that like first off, just like the like visual and environmental variety in all of these is like spot on. Like it's like greatest hits. Like you can in the previous games you can find like maps where it's like, okay, this map has some similar things going on to this map. This batch of levels just feels like every single one is completely different than the last, and like in all the best ways. They're visually stunning. They are really, really well designed. Something else that I've been thinking a lot about from probably from that No Clip documentary is listening to them talk about their like level design philosophy, where they kind of place targets in the approach that they have for building where the targets are going to be is either like, I think they called them fortresses and snail houses. So like in a fortress, a fortress, to use a previous game as an example, like a fortress would be like the Paris Fashion Show, where it's like it's a big build. If you do a lap around a fortress, you'll understand where the cameras are, where the guards are, where you might be able to get in. But like it's a self-contained thing. Whereas like a snail house might be more like Marrakesh, right? Where it's like if you take a lap around it, you are just getting a little bit closer and a little bit deeper and like closer to your target, right? And I think that like the way that they employ that design philosophy in each of these is really, really fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, every mission that you do is extremely different from the next one or the one before it. Like you start in that skyscraper in Dubai. It's this huge building. It's got a bunch of like hidden rooms and stuff like that to check out. And then you go to a manor in the English countryside. And that's one of those fortresses like you talked about, where it's like you can really get the lay of the land of this manor. It's not really hard to move around in, provided, of course, that you have the right costume. That's what the Hitman games are built around, is like getting a costume, dressing up as a person who should be in that space. So in the manor, maybe you dress as one of the housekeepers or one of the security guards or something like that. And you're allowed to go where the housekeepers are allowed to go. And and if you need to go somewhere else, get a different costume.
Yeah. Figure out who's allowed to go in there and steal their disguise.
Exactly. And then so you have that manor level, and then it takes you to something completely different with that rave, which is like, yeah, you have the dance floor where there's all the people dancing, you've got the DJs and stuff like that, but you have a bunch of like outbuildings and like facility grounds and stuff like that where there's like other things happening, other shady things, of course, and you're free to explore around there. It's completely different from what you just did.
The environmental transitions in that map in particular, I think, are really great because it's like when you start, it's based off of a real club, I think, in Berlin or
Okay.
somewhere in Germany,
Yeah.
that is like built into like a what's the word, decommissioned like nuclear power plant or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. And so like when you first approach, it looks like this, all graffitied up, worn down like industrial building. There's these big like smokestacks nearby and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
you just kind of, all you can really hear is like all the people, the crowd outside milling around waiting to get in, right? But once you get in and you start going downstairs like into where the actual like rave is happening, the thumping bass of like the EDM music that's playing starts to
Mm-hmm.
ramp up, and by the time you get down like on the dance floor itself, you're like, the camera zooms way in close behind his head, and like there's lasers and flashing lights, like it's almost like sensorily overwhelming
Mm-hmm.
to be in like the heart of the action on that map.
Yeah. And like what's cool about these two, some of them, this is like the traditional Hitman thing is like the Berlin level is a good example of that. The first time I played the Berlin level, I was basically only in that club section. I did most of my stuff in that area unless there was, I can't remember if there's a target that's like not, that like never goes in that area. But I don't think I did a ton in like those outbuildings. And then on this replay, I only did stuff in those outbuildings. I didn't go in the club a single time. And it's just super cool that like we have this space that's so complicated and with the number of moving parts inside of it that I can do it that way. I don't have to go in the club at all and I'll still complete the mission. I'll get that. No, I remember because I started podcasting, my brain emptied and I forgot like what's the objective in Berlin. Now I remember why I can do it so differently this time, but we'll talk about that in the spoiler section. But it's just like it's a marvel. And like I know we said we're not going to explain how Hitman works, but if I'm going to repeat anything we said in the previous podcasts, nobody makes levels like IO Interactive in these Hitman. Like IO Interactive's level design and then From Software's level design, they're very different, but those are like the two kings in my mind of
Yeah.
like level design in video games. These are like they never stop being replayable because you always have different stuff you can try, and they never stop being like they're all beautiful. Like the visual design in these games is fucking awesome. The environmental design, the details, like the decorations of like interior spaces are always great. Like you said, you approach that warehouse in Berlin, you see all the graffiti. Before you go to the warehouse, the mission starts and you're at this like creepy ass like shut down for the night gas station in the countryside, and it's got like Resident Evil lighting and shit out there. Like these the visual design like I think is really great, but it's always different types of visual design. In the Dubai
Mhm.
level, it's like opulent polished marble floors with like ray traced reflections and shit like that. And I played on PS5 so I could kind of appreciate more of that than I think would come through on the Steam Deck. But it's like I started that level up and I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. This looks incredible in here.
I think in this more than in either of the previous games, it's very deliberate, right? So like
Mm.
to get a little bit more specific, like this game expects that you've played the previous two. I think in our previous episodes, we probably talked about how those games get tutorialized.
Mm-hmm.
Hitman 1 had like a multi-phase tutorial level that you had to get through before you could start playing missions properly because you don't know anything about the game yet, and they got to
Mm-hmm.
teach you all the systems and stuff. And then Hitman 2 started with a kind of like a smaller than average level that
Yeah.
doubled as a retutorial. Which I don't know if we talked about this when we talked about Hitman 2, but like the that mission was very focused on explaining how cameras worked and how like foliage cover worked, like taking
Mm-hmm.
cover in like tall grasses. And I only recently learned from doing research that like that's because those were new mechanics.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
I've
okay.
never played Hitman 2016 in its original engine. I played it in the Hitman 2 engine.
Right.
So it had been updated by then, but like the Hitman 1 levels originally didn't even have cameras. And
Mm.
so like the Hawke's Bay map in Hitman 2 was like meant to teach you about that.
Yeah, that makes
And so
sense.
in Hitman 3, the only real new mechanic that there is, that isn't like, super situational, is the camera.
Yeah.
And they deliberately make a point to kind of teach you that, like, as you play through the first mission. And so
Yeah.
like I think Hitman 3 probably has one of the most like attention grabbing starts of any of the games, because
Yes.
they throw you right into the action. They're immediately doing this like cinematic thing where like they zoom the camera in and out based on where you are on a level, like dynamically. So if you
Mhm.
like, walk to the top of a staircase, there's specifically a spot near the top of the tower in Dubai where like if you get to the top of the staircase in this like big opulent room, as you start walking, the camera like pulls away, and like so you can see more of it, and it just looks like that much more grand, right?
Mhm.
And so when the mission starts, you're doing this thing where you're like you've skydived in and need to like make your way into inside the building, and like the process of doing that is how they teach you how the camera works, and that's
Right.
pretty much it. No more tutorialization needed. You're
Mhm.
off to the races.
Yeah.
um, but all of these levels, or all of these missions, kind of have a little bit more of a like on I don't want to say on rails, but like the first time you play them, there is a sense that the game wants you to take a specific path.
Mm.
On subsequent playthroughs, like that goes away, and they start feeling a little bit more like the sandboxes that you're used to from the previous games. But like,
Mhm.
the initial, each one has like a unique initial starting position that you're forced to use the first time you play it, and
Yeah.
that's because they do so much more of this like cinematic and tying in the story to what's actually happening on the map,
Right.
um, that I think lets them get away with that.
Yeah, subsequent playthroughs will give you the option to like start in some interior room, like some place deep into the level, already wearing a disguise that's appropriate for that place. But the first one, you usually start like outside of it and have to like kind of make an approach to it. Like the skyscraper level notwithstanding, because you literally just start on the outside of the building and you use the camera to hack open a window, and you're like, okay, it's a spy camera, it's a James Bond
Hmm.
gadget. And you have some other things where you use that camera for weird, very situational things later in some other levels. But they do feel like they kind of start you out in that kind of approach, which will kind of funnel you into, optionally into, but like funnel you in front of, I guess, maybe what might be considered the main mission story for several of these. Like we mentioned the Dartmoor level, it has a Knives Out style Benoit Blanc. That is a horrible pronunciation. I'm very sorry for French speakers.
Benoit Blanc.
Yeah, you can tell I haven't watched those movies in a long time, and also my brain is empty. Yeah, you play a kind of character like that, a private investigator gone to the mansion to figure out who killed or what happened to a family member that just died. Did they kill themselves or did someone kill them? So you get in, 47 gets into that situation. You don't have to take that mission story, you don't have to follow it, but the game will put it in front of you right at the beginning of that level and just be like, here's probably like the most guided and like thing that we probably worked on the most as far as like a way to kill the target. It's up to you whether you want to like actually see it through to the end. And if you replay it, like some of the other things that you do in those maps might be more fun. You might like other stuff more, but they are going to kind of give you something that's like, if there is a canon, I would say like if any Hitman levels have a canon playthrough, some of the Hitman 3 levels would be like that, you know?
Yeah, it definitely has more mission stories that feel like they use usually, every map across all three games has a very rich internal story,
Yeah.
right? Like about the targets, that doesn't necessarily relate to like the overarching story, or only incrementally moves it forward, which is why the overarching story is so easy to miss in the first two games, or not pay attention to. But this set of levels, it feels like they use mission stories to like advance the critical plot a little bit more,
Mhm.
and 47's arc a little bit more. and and you're right, there is also a little bit of like a, sometimes it feels like the developers are being like, hey, this we're really proud of this one.
Yep.
You should try this one. It's very
Yeah.
fun. And
Mhm.
usually they're right. Like I think the ones that they tend to funnel you towards on those first runs end up feeling very satisfying and usually feel more cinematic than some of the others, even if the other ones might be more conceptually more cool.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I can think of a couple of them in several levels, which we'll talk again, details in the spoiler section, but they feel like, stuff straight out of movies. Whereas like in the other Hitman games, a lot of the mission stories would just be like, here's a kind of fun way to kill this target that we're gonna put you through a little short story about some of these characters, and at the end you'll have an interesting way to kill them with an exploding golf ball or something cool like that. And something else to bring up, I guess, about those mission stories is there's still multiple mission stories in every level, and one of my favorite things about these games is Agent 47. No matter what role you put him in, he can do it, and he can do it really well. Like mentioned the private investigator story, he just slips into that role. He's like, take me to the crime scene, and you go up there and they ask questions, and he answers them all perfectly. Like he can do anything you ask of him. Like there's a part in the Berlin rave 47 can DJ in that level.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very funny,
You
and
can
he
take
does it
over for
well.
the guy running
Yeah.
the show.
It's one of my favorite things about these, and lends to that characterization of 47 and why he's ultimately like one of the funniest characters to me.
Yeah, those situations always just make you wonder, like, when did he practice this? Like, I
Yeah.
know we've talked it probably in both of our previous episodes about the session drummer scene from
Yeah.
Bangkok,
Yes.
but it's just like he had to have practiced that at some point.
Yeah.
But like the game never, like the story never tells you, like indicates that he has hobbies or like,
No.
or even that he does this kind of preparation for these missions, right? Like, did he
Right.
practice drums because he knew he would have an opportunity to impersonate a drummer, or
Right. Or it's like maybe in the world of Hitman, all of these skills are genetic. And since he was genetically engineered, they were just like, give him the genes for
it's like
everything. He's good
Neo?
at everything. Yes,
They just slotted in the RAM for that particular activity, and
exactly.
then he knew kung fu.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. But it's very funny, and it lends to these mission stories being really fun. The Hitman levels are fun to play as sandboxes to just kind of like puzzle out, like, I need to get that guy out of here, but I can't just like kill him because there's other people watching him. Like, what do I know about how these games work, how these levels work, all of these interlocking mechanics? What do I know about these so that I can manipulate this? You can play these levels forever with that. And the game has a bunch of other modes like the escalation missions, the freelancer mode, all of those will like really test how good you are at that stuff, I feel like. I just like playing the mission stories. Like I really like I love these games, but I don't love them enough to keep playing them endlessly without the mission stories. Like in isolated situations, it's really fun for me to figure out how do I get that guy to move or how do I
mhm.
remove him? But I don't want to play that for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. I like having the mission stories to guide me through. And I think that's why I ultimately didn't like freelancer mode all that much, is just it's not what I love the most about Hitman games.
I totally get that, and it's, I love freelancer mode. I think it lends even more replayability to a certain kind of gamer,
Yeah.
to a game that already has a ton of replayability. But it very much is like it is for the people who, um, you know, the proverbial child who took apart a car engine just so that they could put it back together and figure out how it works, right?
Hmm.
And like,
Yeah.
I do love the mission stories, the like those kinds of like scripted sequences and stuff is definitely what like initially drew me in,
Hmm.
but I have so fallen in love with like the level design of IO, that like we talked about it earlier today, but like if they just wanted to throw me a new level like every 6 months or even once a year for the rest of forever, I'd
Yeah.
pay for them. Because every time I get one, I just want to pick it apart. I want to find every
Hmm.
little thing there is to find, and there is so much to find. There are so
Yeah.
many little like peripheral like goofs and Easter eggs and plots. There are recurring characters that you could play this game for
Hmm.
hours without ever even noticing. It's a testament to how well they've been able to do that I've got 600 or 700 hours in this game, and I still routinely find stuff I didn't know was there.
Yep, exactly. And so for people like you or people who have like maybe replayed it a couple of times, they've done the mission stories, and now they want to really play with the sandbox. The freelancer mode is there for you, and it's new. It just came out like a couple years ago. I would say it was pretty delayed, not delayed, but like it came out a little while after the game released. So what it is, it's a roguelike mode for Hitman, and the way it works is like, so after the events of the main story, 47 is just kind of taking freelance jobs. And you're taking down these syndicate leaders because, evil doesn't stop. You kill whoever's at the top, and, someone else is going to replace them. So you have a structure where you have, what is it, like 12, 10 levels in a row that you need to do? Something like
3,
that.
4, 5, 6. It's 8. It's 18, I think.
Okay.
So it's
It's quite a bit.
yeah, it's like when you start a campaign, it's broken into 4 sections, and each one is one more level than the last. So the
Yeah.
first section is 2 normal missions and a boss mission.
Right.
And then once you get that, like that's like a hard break in the campaign, and the next section is 3 regular missions and a boss mission.
Mhm.
And then 4 and then 5. And so I think it's a total of 3, 4, 5, 6 total. So is that 18? I think that's 18.
Right. And so you'll go through those. And as you go, you start with like literally nothing. You start with just like a pistol, and you have like this safe house that you return to after each mission. If you find items in the mission, you take them back with you, or you can buy them from merchants in the missions. And then you always have like a limit for how many things you can take with you. So it's like, I found all my favorite gadgets in the first level, but I can't take them all with me in the second level. And by all my favorite gadgets, I mean I found a screwdriver, because those are so so good.
And a fish.
Yeah, and a fish. Yeah, and then so you kind of choose which map. They reuse the maps, and you choose where you want to go, and what order you want to do things in, and like how well you do them affects how difficult subsequent missions will be. So if you cause a ruckus, uh, later missions people might be on higher alert, or if you return to the same level multiple times in a campaign, they'll be on higher alert because someone died in Whittleton Creek, and the neighborhood is on watch now.
Now there's a presence.
Yeah, exactly. And so it progressively gets harder and harder to complete the missions efficiently, quietly as you go through. There's a whole bunch of other like modifiers and optional goals and stuff that you can set up for yourself, but that's the general structure of Freelancer from what I played. What it ends up being, because you start with literally nothing and you have no mission stories, it becomes like, to me, feels like the final exam for Hitman, where it's like you've done the campaigns, you've done the mission stories, you've done some of the escalation missions or like the DLC celebrity missions that they put out sometimes. And now it's like, this is just pure, do you know how the sandbox works?
Map knowledge.
Yep.
It's just like map knowledge is the biggest asset in Freelancer.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some small things that get tweaked, right? Like certain events don't unfold the same way. Like that Freelancer has, it's pretty close, but like anything that's like mission critical to the story mission probably isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
There are areas where like Dartmoor in Hitman 3, for example, like doesn't have any cameras in the mission store, like in the campaign version.
Right.
They add cameras in Freelancer.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a random start. You get when you choose a syndicate to go after and a campaign set, you choose from a selection of like, they call them different like types of syndicates, right? So there's like an assassination syndicate and a weapons dealer syndicate and an eco crime syndicate. And what that relates to is each mission you go on, in addition to your targets, you have like these bonus objectives, these payout objectives, because all the while you're earning money, and the money is what you spend at the suppliers to like keep buying gear to fill up your armory.
Mm-hmm.
And so like the theme of those payout objectives is dependent on the type of syndicate you choose. So like I almost always play assassination syndicates, and so my objectives are always like fiber wire kill or hide all bodies,
Yeah.
or only kill targets. But if you choose like a like an eco crime, like a weapons dealer syndicate, you might have more objectives that are like blow up a target, or
Mm,
like uh, the bioweapon syndicate might require you to do more poisoning of your targets
yeah.
than mine does, right? And so
Hmm.
like, but even within that set, they're randomized, and so like you get to choose what gear you take and what level you go to. But before you arrive on mission, like on site, you don't know. You know what your payout objectives are going to be, but you don't know who your targets are or where they're going to be standing. You don't know
Right.
where you're going to start.
Hmm.
And so like it rewards map knowledge. It very much ramps up the puzzle game elements
Yeah.
at the expense of like the secret agent super assassin power fantasy.
Right. In some of them, I think it's in the boss missions, you don't even know who your target is. Like you get a description of them. It's like your target has earrings, they smoke, they're nervous, and one other, they have brown hair or something like that. But there are like there's like a dozen possibilities, and so you spend a lot of time just like watching people, like watching their behavior. Like, all right, got earrings, brown hair. I need to follow them around and see if they smoke. And if they smoke, are they nervous? And then they do have helpful little icons to be like, they're doing a nervous tick right now or something like that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that you use the camera for.
Yeah.
Which gets really hard if your boss mission happens to also be in an alerted territory, because when you're in an alerted territory, all targets, or in this case possible targets, will recognize you through any disguise, and
Oh,
it's very
yeah.
difficult to like get a good camera shot on somebody when when they know that you're the assassin.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
um,
I
Sorry,
thought
go
that
ahead.
was awesome. Like, the trying to figure out who the target is. Like, I wouldn't mind doing that in like regular missions. Like, it was really fun to, go through this level and they'll mark like, here's 8 possibilities of who the target is. But I thought it was really fun to just be like, I don't know who this is. I need to actually like pick a spot and watch. And it would be even like cooler but also harder if it's like they know who Agent 47 is and you can't be seen by them. I guess like in the regular campaign stories you are killing like very recognizable like heads of conglomerates or like noted weapons dealers or stuff like that, but I wouldn't mind this like sprinkled in every now and then, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. What it actually reminds me of is do you remember the maelstrom in Mumbai?
Yeah, yeah.
So that kind of had a more rudimentary version of this, where
Right.
like he was your third target, but you showed up on site not knowing who he was, and then there was kind of like a couple of like pretty lackluster ways of like sequences you had to play through in order to figure out who it was before you could actually kill them. And
Hmm.
this feels like the more fully realized version of that little like game system.
Yeah. It's very cool. And so I played half of a campaign in Freelancer and I didn't fail the campaign, but I had like in the middle, I had like 3 straight missions just be like real dog shit performances. And it was then that I kind of realized like what I like about Hitman, like I appreciate the puzzle I think more than I like doing the pure puzzle. The puzzle of it, the level design, the clockwork nature of it, it's a miracle of game design, but it's not my favorite thing about these games. And so I got into a couple of these freelancer missions where it was like, go kill this target, and the target is just not doing anything. Their whole behavior is just stand in this room and talk to these 2 other people. And it's like I get in there and I'm like, I know the way these games work, there is a way for me to do this without being seen, but I can't figure it out. And what I ended up doing was just shooting them from really far away and running away. And that feels like a less fun way to play Hitman to me.
That is fair. I do that a lot. I think one of the tricks of Freelancer is knowing which parts of the gameplay that you might be accustomed to from the main campaign can be ignored, right?
Yeah.
So like the all of the campaign missions very much reward, and like either explicitly or just like from that implicit satisfaction you get from like clean run, like just like being clean, right? Like
Hmm.
you strive for silent assassin even if you aren't necessarily going for the silent assassin achievement, right? Like if
Hmm.
you kill somebody, you feel like you can't just do it in broad daylight. You got to want to lure them aside. You want to make sure you hide the body, etc. And in Freelancer, you do definitely have to like play to your objectives sometimes,
Yeah.
right? So like you're not necessarily gonna get penalized if somebody sees a body unless one of your objectives is no bodies spotted
Hmm.
or hide all target bodies. And so sometimes I will just be like, okay, I can afford for this to be a little bit messy. So I'll find a rooftop, I'll snipe that guy that's standing in the middle of a crowded market, and then bounce so no
Hmm.
one sees me.
I think it's just rewarding, like, again, like you said, like rewarding your full understanding of like, this is a safe place for me to shoot a gun, which is like something in the campaigns. I think I only shot a gun like one time in this whole replay, and it was because I was trying that cool thing that speedrunners do where they shoot a wall to get someone's attention. It wasn't because I was trying to shoot a target or something. It was just like, I know that this is one of those interactions of like mechanics
Hmm.
that these games are built on. I want to try it because I've seen speedrunners do it. It looks really fun. It didn't work as well for me as it works for
I've never really been
speedrunners.
able to get that to work very well either.
Yeah, but I think that it is weird that Freelancer was like, it got me in that mode. Is like, I don't know what to do. I guess I'll just shoot him. Like, it just feels a little less fun to me. But I think you're right that the most important thing is in Freelancer is not doing one mission perfectly. It's getting through all the missions. So if
Yeah.
this is the way that you're just gonna get this mission done and get out, and maybe try not to revisit that place in a future mission in the campaign, then yeah, I guess that's how you do it.
Yeah. And I have like it is hard. Like it is a
Yeah.
hard mode, and especially in the early game. Like I'm now at a place in my freelancer game mode where I have everything in my inventory.
Hmm.
But what happens is like if you take a bunch of stuff on a mission with you and then you like get killed or otherwise fail the mission, you lose that stuff. And so
Yeah.
you have to like go buy it again or find it on a map again. And also as you progress you unlock more like inventory slots, and so the amount of stuff you can bring with you. And so like I actually think the planning process for a mission is a lot more fun, even if like once you
That's
get on
true.
there it doesn't feel like there's quite as much of a cinematic payoff for that planning, because it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I think I have to think about what map I'm going to be on, what I know, what resources I know are there, and what I should take with me. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I know where there are a couple of coins, so I don't need to take a coin with me, so that's some inventory space I can save. um, but one of my payout objectives is kill 3 guards with a sniper rifle, so I got to make sure I have room for my sniper rifle.
Hmm.
um, knowing how you're going to get out,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
if things, like I said, because if things go south, then not only is do you either make the rest of your run harder or fail the campaign completely, and I have a lot of failed campaigns.
Hmm.
Either way you're going to lose all that stuff and a bunch of your money.
Yeah.
So like a messy run that you can save is better than uh a run where you can't.
Yeah. Where you tried to be too perfect and ended up
Yeah,
fucking it up. Yeah.
ended up losing a bunch of your stuff.
Yeah, that is a good point. Planning for campaign missions is basically like, I'll always just take a lockpick and maybe a couple of coins, like, because
Hmm.
it's never not useful to have a lockpick. But
Yeah.
like you said, if you're going into a freelancer mission, the lockpick is, I feel like it's pretty expensive to carry, especially early on. Like, your inventory space gets bigger as you play freelancer.
Hmm.
But early on, you're really like, it's like it's almost like literal pockets. It's like, uh, no,
Yeah, you
you
have like
can't
five
put,
or six things.
yeah, you can't put rat poison and a lockpick in your suit pocket. It's a suit pocket. It's not a real pocket.
One
It's
or the
not built
other.
for stuff. So you do have to plan. And again, that's it goes into freelance mode feeling like the final exam for experts at the game. Like, people who get mission level 20 on all the missions before, did suit only silent assassin on all the other missions before. Like, these maps, but like the back of your hand. So now here's another test, because this is what we were talking about with them kind of finding this like wholesome way to make a forever game, where it's just like, we've built these amazing spaces that are very replayable. Let's introduce these other game modes that like will just constantly shake things up, because it sounds like you played a lot more freelancers, so maybe you can confirm or deny, but it sounds like it's pretty fresh consistently. Like, based on who your target is, what your optional objectives are, what you have to bring with you, where you start, like stuff like that.
Yeah, you play it enough and you do start to notice patterns, right? So it's not like not every NPC on every map can be a target. And so
Okay.
like I couldn't even guess at how big the target pools are, but like there have been times where I've shown up on a map for a freelancer mission and been like, oh, it's that guy again.
Yeah.
I've had to
Yeah.
kill him before, but like he's just one of 4 people that I have to kill, and
Hmm.
the other ones might not be the same people as they were the first time. And so like what you end up developing is like it's almost like these like mental algorithms, right? So it's like I don't know enough about my target to fully plan my approach ahead of time, but I might be able to be like, okay, well, I do know that, over here is a good spot to get this disguise, which is good for granting me access to these areas, which is
Hmm.
good for getting from this side of the map to that side of the map. And so you kind of like develop this like library of like, shortcuts or like action sequences
Yeah.
that will get you from A to B. And I mean that either literally or metaphorically, that come in really handy once you actually show up and find out, where is everybody? Where am I? What do I have to do?
Yeah, that makes sense. Whereas like a campaign mission, it can be very free flowing. Like I'm just kind of going through the level, and if I find a security guard disguise and it's like, it'd be nice to be dressed like a security guard, I'll just change. But in Freelancer, it does sound like you have to have like a lot more of a plan, especially as you get like deep into the campaigns. Cause even halfway through a campaign, it was like, this is way harder than anything I've ever done in Hitman before.
Yeah, I mean, by the time you get to that fourth section, I think you're looking at like between 4 and 6 targets on almost every map. The boss mission for that has like 12 different like suspects that you have to like run around, and there's also, like you accept them in these batches, right? So
Yeah,
you pick a syndicate, and then you know all 3 of the first cities, and you can choose which order to do them in, which means you can choose which one you want to save for your boss mission.
right.
And I've definitely found that like there are some maps that are easier for boss missions than others. Berlin is a
Yeah.
great boss mission map. Dartmoor is a pretty good boss mission map. um, Colorado, really difficult boss mission map,
Oh yeah, I can tell. Yeah, I can
right?
imagine.
Like I want to do my boss mission in like in Dubai if I can help it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So like it's definitely a very different kind of game mode. The decision making that goes into it both during and between missions is very different, and I can totally understand why it wouldn't be for everybody. But for a game that, I would love to see them come out with new, like totally new levels more often than they do. But even in spite of that, between Freelancer and all of the different ways that they found of like reskinning existing maps, like
Mhm.
I don't know how much you want to get into them, but like especially the more recent like celebrity DLC, like elusive target missions
Mhm.
are like they take place on maps, but they're heavily reworked, right?
Yeah.
Like there was like there's like a Bruce Lee one where he's participating in like a martial arts competition as a way of getting close to his target because he's also an assassin,
Uh-huh.
and you're there to help him and protect him. And that takes place on Bangkok, and it almost entirely takes place in like the upper couple levels of one of the towers in Bangkok.
Mm.
But like the set is like all like the rooms look different. Um,
Okay.
even though it is a space, and when you pull up the map it still says like Ken Morgan's suite or whatever, like the look of the map and the layout of the rooms is different. And so like what about where NPCs are standing and who the enforcer guards are, like totally out the window. You got to relearn almost everything except for the most basic floor plan.
That makes sense. And it just sounds really cool, like the way that they've reworked those for cool little stories like you told me about, and I watched the video of the Conor McGregor mission, which they've since disowned Conor McGregor for good reason, but it is really funny to see 47 do a mission story where he gets in the octagon with Conor McGregor and kills him in one punch.
And like, yeah, literally just punches him until right to death.
Yep. Again, 40, I guess that's combat related. 47's probably great at hand-to-hand combat, of course, as an assassin, but still very funny to see him just like, yeah, this is no problem. I got this.
Yeah, one of my other favorite ones of those was they did one that was like in, I don't know, partnership I guess with like Casino Royale, the James Bond movie,
Hmm.
which I guess kind of makes sense given that they're working on a 007 game.
Right.
But like it was literally featuring like Mads Mikkelsen as like Le Chiffre from
Okay.
Casino Royale, and it takes place in Paris. And instead, that whole central room that is normally like the fashion show in Paris
Yeah.
is set up to be a casino. And so there's like a little like window you have to go
Oh,
to and buy
sick.
chips, and you have to like talk to people and network and see if you can get like obtain like a an invitation to like the high stakes game going on upstairs. And then when you get upstairs, there's like a very like, you know, a tense scene that mirrors that scene in the movie,
Hmm.
where you're like, you know, trying to bluff each other and win the game, and then, you know, deal with the fact that he's poisoning you. It's like it's so good, and it comes with you know, a whole set of like related cosmetics and stuff. And for $5 for that mission and a whole bunch of cosmetics, not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it does sound, as I've never bought any of those celebrity DLC missions. So I've never played any of them, but they do sound a lot more involved than I had thought they would be.
Than they used to be, for sure. I mean,
Okay.
they're structured like elusive targets, and like, but they are a lot more involved now than like the traditional elusive targets have been in the
Okay.
past.
Maybe that's why I was like, yeah, I don't feel like buying those, but like in the past. But it does sound like this is like halfway to getting a new Hitman level where it's like, yeah, it's an old space, but it's very different than the way you know it.
Yeah, they've perfected the art of wringing like all the possible player value out of every map they've already built.
Yeah.
That like I'm okay waiting for totally new maps for a while if I have to.
Right. But in a way that feels like I didn't when freelance mode came out, my initial thought was not like, "Ah, man, these, look at them reusing these maps and, trying to squeeze more." I mean, freelancer is a free update. Maybe that's a bad squeeze more playtime or like, the celebrity things you have to pay for. But for someone who loves Hitman, like you aside from a new level, like a great new thing is just a new way to experience the old maps because the maps are so good.
Hmm.
It's you're not gonna I'm not tired of being in the levels.
Yeah.
Maybe I will buy some of those celebrity ones and try them out because it does sound like more of a more reworking than I initially like understood them to be.
They're more like the I don't remember how much we talked about like the special assignments and the bonus missions, but like do you remember there are like a handful of alternative missions you can do on Sapienza back in Hitman 1, and like one of them is called, I think it's called the Icon, and it like transforms the heart, like the downtown, what is normally the downtown like square of Sapienza, into like a movie set. They're filming like an Iron Man style movie there.
Mm,
And so like you're still moving around the same space, but now there are like film crew and trailers and like roped off areas. And so like I don't know, it's such a good way of like, again, not having to rebuild a whole new level while still delivering you know, a brand new experience to the player.
yeah.
And I don't think those ones I think you probably have access to. They're included with those bundles. And
Yeah, I remember trying some of the sniper levels in the previous games, which again are it's a different way to experience stuff. So
yeah. Yeah, the freelancer doesn't reskin stuff quite as much, but it definitely changes the way that you have to like approach
yeah,
each map and test your map knowledge. Is the final exam of Hitman is a good way to put freelancer.
absolutely. This is a good point to kind of put a pin in talking about levels and stuff like that and start getting ready to talk about spoilers because we're going to do the thing that we've always done in these Hitman episodes. We're going to go level by level, talk about our favorite mission stories or interactions and stuff that we have in the levels, and I do want to save some time for that. I think my goal for this Hitman 3 episode was really to highlight what's different about Hitman 3 because the core of Hitman is still the same. as it has been. It's still as good as it has been, but they do have some new stuff in here. So talking about kind of that different tone, a little bit more variety in mission objectives, some pretty wild variety in like what the levels are like. And then I did want to talk about freelancer mode because it's a lot more involved than I thought it would be when I first heard roguelike hitman mode. I was like, oh, just replay levels and, if you lose a mission, you start over, but like not that I thought IOI was going to phone it in or something, but like it is pretty in depth. So I'm glad we
Yeah.
got to really like focus in on that for a little bit. So, um, feels weird to ask this at the end of we're probably approaching like 10 hours of Hitman podcasts with the two of us, but we always ask the question, who would you recommend play Hitman? I guess since the show has grown quite a bit since the last time we talked about Hitman, there might be people here who didn't listen to those previous episodes. There probably are many people who didn't listen to those previous episodes. Who do you think should jump into Hitman? And like, I agree with you, Hitman 3 should come after playing the first two campaigns. So I think that we would approach this from like, I don't think there are big Hitman fans out there who didn't play Hitman 3 yet. Like this came out 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But for all the people who haven't jumped into Hitman, or maybe they just dabbled a little bit, who do you think this appeals to?
Um, I mean, everybody. That's a phone it in answer. I think, I kind of can't believe we've gotten like, an hour into this already and neither of us have mentioned the phrase immersive sim, but
That's right.
like,
Yeah.
we've had our previous episodes have some discussion about whether or not it qualifies as an immersive sim, but I think it definitely like scratches the itch for anyone who is into immersive sims,
Yeah.
regardless of whether or not it technically counts.
Hmm.
Anybody who likes stealth games, anybody who likes just like picking apart and like the inner workings and understanding how things work,
Hmm.
either in video games or in everyday life, will probably find this satisfying.
Yeah. You made me kind of remember that immersive sim topic that we talked about in those old episodes. I think my feeling on that has evolved. I think that these are absolutely immersive sims in the same way that like Breath of the Wild is not like, when you think immersive sim, when I think of it, I think of like Deus Ex, Prey, like games like that, Dishonored, but it's expanded as I've kind of learned more about, how these games work. And so stuff like Breath of the Wild, Hitman, absolutely. So for people who like those, and for people specifically, I think like if you really, really like those types of games, it's because the game is like putting problems in front of you and always asking you like, what do you know about the game that will help you get past this?
Hmm.
And the solutions might be scripted things. Hitman has a lot of, with the mission stories. But you can also play it with just knowledge of like, if I do this, the guard will do this, because that's how things like this always work. And it always works in a predictable way. So for example, like, what the speedrunners do, like a guard will react to you shooting the wall next to them and they'll turn and be like, what the fuck was that? And while they're turned, run through and don't get caught. Maybe it works for speedrunners because they're finishing the level in 10 seconds. And it doesn't work for me because I'm still in that same
Yeah,
room 10 seconds later.
there's not enough time for them to get spotted anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but yeah, people who like immersive sims, and then we probably said this earlier, but this is a very different take on stealth than stealth games normally work. This is hide in plain sight stealth. I have crept between, wall to wall as a guard turns their head. Like I do that sometimes in Hitman, but that's not the bread and butter of these. So a cool take on stealth. And if you love level design and you haven't played Hitman, boy, are you in for a treat when you play
Yeah,
these games.
some of the best.
Yeah.
Some of the best. Just if you like what I love about it is that the sandbox is so full of toys and the game basically gives you an objective and then gives you like unlimited space for creative expression in terms of how you complete that objective.
I think the thing with the immersive sim thing in the old podcasts, if I'm remembering right, was that you have to play Hitman the whole time. Like you have to play by Hitman's rules. And Hitman is a very idiosyncratic game. The way that movement works, the way that combat works, like in an immersive, in like a, in a Dishonored or a Prey or something like that, like you spec for combat and like, become a combat master and like you can be really good at the third person shooting in Hitman, but you'll never be able to get shot more than like 3 or 4 times.
47's still just a guy.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have magic powers, and he can't spec into magic powers, right?
Right.
So, like, he's never going to be able to go one on, like, an army.
Right. I think that was maybe the crux of that argument, which I don't think really holds up. But hey, I've grown a little bit over the last 4.5 years since starting the show. So yeah, the Hitman games, they're fucking great. If what we've talked about up until now sounds good to you, then you know that you should check Hitman out. So and it's not complicated to buy anymore. Just go look for Hitman World of Assassination Trilogy. It's all in one package now. A lot of growing pains getting to this point, but we're at that point now. You can just go buy the trilogy. So good stuff. So this would ordinarily be the point where I ask the guest to plug the podcasts or things that they do. Scott has chosen the enlightened path, which is to not do a podcast or online stuff. Just hop on Tales from the Backlog every now and then, talk about a game for a few hours and get it out of your system.
Sometimes less is more.
Yeah, exactly. And that extends to social media and things like that. So I'll just say, great to have you back on, Scott.
Dude, always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. And so with that being said, we're going to move into spoilers soon. The other kind of plug for the show that I didn't do earlier is the Discord server, which is open. It is public, and I think it's a nice, cool place to hang out. Hitman's a great game to come in and talk about, like, hey, you guys didn't talk about this mission story. It's actually really cool. Chances are, if something like that doesn't come up in the podcast, it's because I don't know about it. So I would love to hear about mission stories that I missed, or weird, cool interactions that we didn't talk about. This is not going to be a comprehensive, you could probably spend 10 hours podcasting
I'll be here
about
all night
each
if we
level.
try to be thorough.
Yeah. So come on in, tell us about your experiences with Hitman. And it's also just a friendly place on the internet, and I think we could all use a few more of those. So with that being said, we're going to take our spoiler break, and when we come back, it will be full spoiler time for Hitman 3. All right, before we get to full spoiler time for Hitman 3, I would like to say thank you to the patrons who help support the show. A big thank you goes out to Chris Nelson, Zulgeek, Chris Copleen, Rick Firestone, Nick Vicori, Soccer, Cupcake, Kyle, Christian S., Matt aka Stormageddon, JD, Doug Leaf, Jason Emery, Brian Skirsha, Jenny E., Marcus O'Neill, Stefan, Drellish, Rigamort, Silcanet, Levi, John E., Aliasi, Joseph Hooper, Aaron, Squill, Alan Kress, Doug T, Retro Overdrive, One of Many Tots, Magic Crow, Curly Bright, Ian L, Steve Yeager, Trash Dog Actual, Delaney and Jack McBride, Ethan Young, Michael Lassen, Michael Matuzak, Keith B, A Quack a Day, and many more. Big thanks to everyone who's over on Patreon, kicking me a few bucks a month and helping to support the work that I'm doing here. It's much appreciated, and it helps out in a lot of different ways. And in return, they're getting some cool treats and my everlasting love and respect. One of those treats is voting in monthly polls for a game to cover on the show. And if you're listening to this episode right when it comes out, there is a poll ongoing for one more day. So if you want to make your voice heard, you want to influence what games end up on the podcast, you can do so over on Patreon. Once again, that's patreon.com/realdavejackson. Now, with that being said, let's get back to full spoiler time for Hitman 3. All right, we're back. It is full spoiler time for Hitman 3. Again, specifically talking about the Hitman 3 campaign. We are not going to be comprehensive in covering this. We're going to talk about how the story plays out throughout the game, and we'll also talk about the individual levels in a linear order. But I am going to, as always, not hold us to, like, don't talk about something that happens later on. So if you're halfway through and you don't want to know what happens on the train, get out, go play it, and come back. And we're not going to talk about everything. That's the other thing. I know that Scott probably could. I could not. But we're just not going to talk about everything. These are way too dense to cover everything that's worth talking about. So we'll talk about our experiences. I'm going to share my favorite mission stories. I'm sure, Scott, you'll have some mission story stuff that I didn't see as well. And we'll start with Dubai. The first level, it is in a big skyscraper. Again, it's a kind of stand-in for the Burj Khalifa. You're there at the ribbon cutting ceremony, and you're also there because this is where the final three members of Providence, who are supposed to be your final three targets, spoiler, they're not. This is where you think they're all going to be. Turns out that one of them leaves before you can get to them. So
literally during the opening like cinematic cutscene, right? So like the game begins and like Lucas Gray and 47 are like jumping out of an airplane and skydiving onto the Burj Al Ghazali, the scepter.
Yeah, the scepter.
And as they're supposed to go in together, and as they're falling, a helicopter comes out of the clouds, and they peel off and get separated. And we learn later that was Alexa Carlisle, the one of the three Providence partners who doesn't actually show up on this map.
Right. So
they know to expect you, and she bounced.
Yep. So you've got two others to take out. Now, I didn't write their names down. Their names are not really important to me personally. I wrote some of the names down in some of the other ones, but not in this first mission, baby, because
we are here to take out Carl Ingram, who is like an old money guy.
Yes.
And Marcus Stuyvesant, who is very much a new money guy.
Okay, yeah. Now, the first time I did this, there is a mission story where you can get both of them in a meeting room, I think, together, and you can like close the shutters and like kind of do a security lockdown in the meeting room to basically, two people locked in a room with 47, they're not coming out of that room. That was what I did on my first playthrough. So the second time I did not do that specifically. I wanted to do other ones, and I found some very funny mission stories to do. One much funnier than the other one. Have you done all the mission stories at this point?
I have, and I'll if you're cool with it, I'll talk a little bit more in detail about the penthouse mission story, because
yeah, for sure.
That's kind of what I had in mind earlier when we were talking about how this game kind of gently nudges you towards like a primary mission story, and I feel like this is that one, because the first time you play this map, it is Lucas Gray, because you've gotten separated. Lucas Gray's in your ear instead of alongside you, which was the plan, and so he's kind of like guiding you in along the like support beams from the outside and gets you in. And there's this really cool like cinematic moment where you step through a curtain, and like in a wipe transition, you are automatically changed from your like skydiving outfit into like a suit. And then you can head up into the party proper. But then you're like kind of wandering around this like main atrium where the Sheikh Al Ghazali, who actually is I'm pretty sure the same guy who shows up on the Paris map at the very beginning of Hitman 1. He's kind of giving safe harbor to the Providence partners, right? And so he's kind of giving his like inauguration speech as he's dedicating the new building, and you wander past these little like kiosk terminals, like these little information screens that are like telling here the history of the Al Ghazali family and the story of its construction and the floor plan of the place. And Lucas Gray pops in your ear and he's like, hey, go over to that terminal, this gives me an idea. And he explains how he wants he wants to talk to the Providence partners directly, because 47 and Lucas Gray, who was once known as Subject 6, are both grew up in the same like genetic engineering of children program thing, which was a Providence thing, which is why he's so hell-bent on bringing Providence down. And so he wants to like talk to them before 47 kills them and be like, this is why we're killing you. And so he explains that like, okay, well, now that we see the floor plan on this terminal, I think we can rearrange their calendars. This is another like, I think this showed up in like New York or something, but it rearranged the calendars of rich people who don't know their own schedule, and they'll just fall for it. And so by looking at the floor plan, he realizes that you could probably infiltrate like the service area. And so the mission marker leads you over to this door with a keypad. And I replayed this mission earlier today, which is the only reason I locked this piece of trivia away. But the keypad code for that is 4706,
Okay.
Agent 47,
Yeah.
Subject 6.
Uh-huh.
And then when you go in there, it kind of reveals this really interesting dichotomy on this map we didn't talk much about yet, which is like that of opulence and that of like the lower class like help.
Mhm.
Like the bright gilded opulence of a building like this is like at all times very physically and visibly separated from like the service staff that make the whole thing work.
Mhm.
And only by like infiltrating those areas can you find that.
Yeah.
And so you eventually work your way up and you find this little server room where Lucas Gray is like, if we can gain access to this terminal, we can rearrange their calendars. And you like, you have to pull out a server rack, and the first one doesn't work, so you got to like quickly hide while some guards come in and patrol. But once they leave, you try again.
Mhm.
And I think you can disable all the cameras from here, which is really handy. But then you can also rearrange their calendars, which immediately sends both targets up to this penthouse. And so then all you got to do is you got to get a guard's outfit or something that will let you infiltrate the penthouse. You go up, they meet in this room, and then he activates this button that allows you to drop the shutters down and isolate this room from anyone else. So it's literally just 47 and the two targets in there.
Mhm.
And you do get to stand there and like behind their backs while they look at a screen on the other side of the room where Lucas Gray's face shows up and like just lets him have it. Like
Mhm.
he gets to monologue here, and then at the very end he's like, "Oh, me, I'm just here to watch you die. I believe my friend here can do something about that." And like they turn around and you just pop, or like I think there's actually a
Screwdrivers.
little.
That's what
I
I
think
do.
there's a little like scale model of the scepter
Yeah.
tower in that room that you can pick up and either just bludgeon or like maybe like stab him in the face or something with it.
Yeah. It's super cool. You mentioned the model of the scepter in the other mission story that I did. This time it's one called Insecurity, where you take the role of a new security guard. Wait, no, not the other one. There's another assassin in the building, the bird of prey
Yeah.
thing. And that gets you basically close to a one-on-one meeting with one of the targets, and on his desk he's got one of those scepter things, and there's a contextual like button prompt. If he's standing in front of it, you can just smash his face down into it.
Hell yeah. Like the Joker.
Yes, exactly. So I did that, and there's a bunch of guards, so I had to like hide by hanging on the balcony outside, whipping winds outside. But
Yeah,
47,
hundreds of stories
yeah,
above the ground.
but 47 has the strongest grip of any human, so he's fine.
He could be a very successful like rock climber.
Anything, a very successful anything. Yeah. So I did that mission story. The one that I thought was the funny one from this one is I did one called Insecurity, which is taking the role of a new security guard. When you find the guy, he's in the laundry room yelling at a housekeeping, like a maid, because she fucked up his uniform. And he's just in there yelling. And at one point, if you're standing in there, he'll turn to 47 and like ask for help. And 47's like, "You're on your own here," or something like that, just in a really dry voice. But you take his identity, and you go up to meet the guy who needs the security guard. And he makes you do a knife throwing test. Like there's these like moving targets hanging off the side of the
Oh
building,
yeah.
and there's a bunch of knives. And he's like, you know, "Prove to me that you're, as good as people say you are." And so obviously 47, 4 for 4 on knife throwing at these targets. And then he goes off and stands on the edge of the skyscraper and just starts monologuing about, some, elite bullshit
With his back turned.
with his back turned. And yeah, you just go up and kick
Classic
him off the
mistake.
side. And we didn't mention it. We've mentioned it in the old podcast, but the mission exits are usually really funny too. And I've always done it by just skydiving off the building.
Yeah,
Which is great.
That's a very conveniently placed one for after you kill them both in the penthouse, which like the whole sequence lends itself to that cinematic treatment.
Yeah.
Other mission stories don't necessarily feel quite so curated.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great exit point. If memory serves, I think that there is a bit of dialogue you can overhear where that guard that you're supposed to be like taking the identity of part of his like one of the things on his resume is that he worked security for Dawood Rangan,
Oh,
who's at
yeah, that's right. The guy from
target on
the
Mumbai.
Mumbai level. And he was the guy who was doing the big painting on top of the
Mm-hmm.
building, right? Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
remember that. I remember that assassination, and he's talking about like he used to work security for that guy, and it's like 47's like, I don't think he's as good as he says he is.
It's also fun. It's also funny because Mumbai also had the Kashmirian, that other assassin
Right.
with the mission story around him, and this level also has another assassin. Is he called the Vulture or something like that? Is that why it's
Yeah,
called Bird of Prey? I think
I
it's
think
called the
so, yeah.
Vulture.
And he has this
Um,
really loud like purple and green suit that he's wearing. He's
Not
very
subtle
funny.
at all.
Yeah. Um this mission story with the vulture was bugged, which I think I texted you about. I had this really shitty. There's a part in the mission story where you have to talk to the target's like clerk, and they will lead you up to the room, and it starts a timer for how long it takes them to walk up to the room. But the person never started walking, and so I would just stand there and be like, all right, when's she gonna? If I go over and like bump her, will it like kick her into her path? And it never did. And then like after a minute or whatever, it just mission failed. And I'm like,
All of a sudden,
what the
you're
fuck?
trespassing.
Yeah. So I couldn't get the story to work. So I had to just talk to her and then sprint up to the office because like now I'm allowed there in the code or whatever.
Yeah,
Um, but it
that's a
was
bummer when
funny.
that happens.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting one where like you're posing as another assassin who's been hired by your target, and so like you have to like part of that mission story I think is killing another person, like a third target, like taking out the target, the vulture's target,
Oh,
in order to
yeah.
prove
Right.
to Carl Ingram that like you have what it takes, and that's what
Hmm.
gets you access to Carl Ingram himself.
Right. Yeah. You had to take out, it was a journalist in that. And
That's right.
I was like, okay, I will knock you out and put you in a closet, which I guess in Hitman is as close to dying without actually dying. There was there were a couple people that I knocked them out and I put them in a chest freezer, and it's like they're not coming out of that freezer.
Yeah. If
Whoops.
somebody doesn't find them in the next 10 minutes,
Yeah,
it's
not
over.
good. Yeah. So that's basically my experience with the Dubai level. Is those mission stories, those three. I think my favorite one is probably the one where because it's very classic Hitman stuff. 47 gets to show some skill that you like. You probably knew he could throw a knife, but it's like he gets to show off his various set of skills, and then you get to kick that guy off the skyscraper as he's monologuing rich people bullshit. Very good. Are
Yeah.
there other mission stories in there that are noteworthy?
I think so. Hitman 3 is loaded with I think we I think they've just increased the number of these with every game, but like
Mm,
sequences that have a mission story feel without actually being proper mission stories.
yeah, right.
And so I think this one only has like 3, maybe 4 mission stories. But there are a ton of memorable ways that I can remember taking out the targets, and I can talk about a few of my favorites. So there's well, first, real quick, the exploding golf ball also makes a cameo, a reprise
Oh,
appearance on this
nice.
map.
Oh, is
One
there
of Carl
someone hitting golf balls like
one of
off the
Carl
building?
Ingram's things. So the most targets are usually like dwellers or roamers,
Yeah,
and
right.
this map has one of each. So Carl Ingram pretty much sticks to his little penthouse unless something brings him out, and
Hmm.
Marcus Stuyvesant like roams the whole
Yeah.
like party area until something draws him upstairs. And so one of the things that Carl Ingram will do while he's pacing around his like penthouse suite is he'll step out onto a balcony and just hit golf balls off the
Hmm.
balcony, which is like already an insane thing to do. Like you're 100 and however many floors up,
Yeah.
and you're like hitting a golf ball that's going to reach terminal velocity by the
Yeah,
time it hits
exactly.
somebody down on the street. Like that's
Yeah.
insane. Um, but there's like a disgruntled like maintenance tech somewhere on the map who was going to do something dangerous but has convinced herself not to because it's risky, and it involved an explosive. And if you can find her and find where she stored the explosive golf ball, you can go put it in Carl Ingram's little
Hell
basket
yeah.
of golf balls. And so just a classic reprise from all the way back in Sapienza.
Hmm.
um, One of my favorite mechanics of this map is that there is a an evacuation protocol, because like what makes these first couple interested Hitman 3 maps interesting is that the targets know you're coming. And so
Hmm.
like the narratively they have to do this thing where like why can't anybody call for help, right? So part of the
Yeah.
thing that Lucas Gray is doing while he's in your ear is he's like jamming communications to and from. And
Hmm.
like in the next map, he's like, it's stated that he has like taken out the satellite like uh outpost. So like like calls for help will fall on deaf ears, right? So they do a
Hmm.
little bit of that in the background. And so because the targets know you're coming, there is this whole like sequence of events that can be triggered that will cause them to evacuate the scene. And I think you can overhear it up by listening to some of the guards up in the penthouse. But basically, the way it works is that if there are two separate like swipe cards and two different places, like on the
Yeah,
upper
yeah,
and then
yeah.
the second to top floor, where if you can swipe them both fast enough, it triggers this escape routine.
Yeah.
And there's a sequence and a couple of fallback sequences. And so what will normally happen when that happens is that both targets, no matter where they are, they will immediately run to like the base of the staircase that leads up to the penthouse, which is right. And once they meet up there, they'll go out the door out onto the helicopter pad, which I think is
Hmm.
not far from where you did the knife throwing thing, and they'll evacuate via helicopter.
Hmm.
But if you have already snuck out onto the helipad and knocked out the helicopter pilot, or I think maybe all you might even just have to like steal the helicopter keys, which then makes the helicopter an exit route for you
Hmm.
later. What they'll do instead, they'll stand out there for a few minutes, and then when they realize that no one's gonna fly the helicopter, they'll run back upstairs, and there is this spot where there are two like lockers affixed to the wall that hold parachutes.
Hmm.
And so they'll run up if they can't escape by helicopter, they'll run up there, they'll each grab a parachute out, and then they'll run to the nearest balcony and jump off and parachute off the building.
Hmm.
And one thing you can do is you can hang out on the balcony and you can just snipe them while they're parachuting away. But if you have enough forethought, one thing you can do is you can visit those lockers first and you can just cut big holes in the like you just sabotage the parachutes.
Yeah.
And so that when when it triggers that routine, they run out to the balcony and they just jump to their death.
Yep. I love that. And those are not official mission stories. They're
I
just
don't
like,
believe so. I
yeah,
believe
because
those are just like these little interactions that like if you discover how they work and how you can chain them together, you can get mission story feeling kills.
yeah, I remembered. I did overhear the guards talking about how to initiate the evacuation sequence. And yeah, super cool that, and even cooler that there's like multiple levels to it, where it's like last time maybe you fucked with the helicopter, now this time you're gonna fuck with the parachutes, or like you said, just kind of shoot a hole in each of the parachutes as they're going down. So
Yeah. I think there's a challenge for taking them out like while they're parachuting away cuz they are moving pretty quick. Like it's not an easy sniper shot.
mhm.
The easier way is definitely cuz it's just a button prompt to like sabotage as long as you have some kind of blade, I think.
Yeah, very cool. So now after Dubai, we're on to Dartmoor. That Providence agent that escaped at the beginning of the Dubai level. This is her house, and so now we're going there. And this is the one we talked about. It has the Knives Out mission story where you take on the role of the private investigator, investigating the death of one of the family members. And so, like, you do the Knives Out thing. You investigate the crime scene, you talk to the family members. The family members are all varying degrees of terrible. I think there's like a couple of them where I was like, you seem fine, but you're like the quote, the good one in the family. There's
Mhm.
several where it's like, you people fucking suck.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's they're all bad people. And they all like, you know, there is like an equivalent like it's not subtle how inspired by Knives Out it is.
right.
Like the
Yeah.
characters have like map pretty closely to the characters in that
Right. Yeah.
in terms of archetype.
You've got like the older couple, you've got like the young, like kind of piece of shit kid that's out like partying and stuff like that. Um, and so you can follow that mission story, and it eventually culminates, I think, in you're just like alone up in the office with the target. What I've done both times is I've abandoned that mission story about, after investigating and chatting with everyone, because there's just some other really fun ways to kill the target around the manor grounds.
Mhm.
Actually, the first time maybe I did kill her in the office, but I remember exploring like making poison in the greenhouse and other stuff. Maybe I just used that up at the top. The second time I did the family photo mission story, which is just so funny.
Produces one of the best screenshots in the game.
And it pauses and like asks you, "Hey, take a screenshot of this. This is funny right now."
You want to save this?
Yeah. So what you do in this mission story is you take the role of the photographer who's there to take a family photo. One of the things about this story is like this person faked their death and they just revealed to their family that they're actually alive. Again, very fucked up thing to do to your family.
Well, so again, this is how it ties in, like, back into like the overarching plot here, right? So like Alexa Carlisle is one of the Providence partners, and they knew you were coming, which is why she left the Burj Al Ghazali before you got there. And the Constant has just recently escaped captivity, right? Like we captured him back in Isle of Scale, and he escapes just before the events of this game.
Mm-hmm.
And so them both being Providence people, she's gone home to start doing damage control. We'll learn a little bit later that like Arthur Edwards is making a play for their job, right?
Yeah.
Like he wants to be head of of Providence more than just Constant. So this, where we are, this manor is like the birthplace of Constant, like or of, I don't know why I keep saying that, of Providence.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was Alexa Carlisle's like father or grandfather maybe who like founded Providence at this estate, like at the end of World War II. And so it's like there's this very poetic like, it began here, it's going to end here, etc. Right? And so we're here to finish the job of killing them, but also we're here to get a case file on Arthur Edwards because he needs to be recaptured, and we think the information in that might help us.
Right. Yeah, and she has it locked in a safe up in her office.
Right. And so the two like main things that are going on here is, one, her brother Zachary has died, and that's what the murder mystery is surrounding. Mm-hmm. But two, because she knows that like 47's coming after her, she tries to fake her death. And so like they're staging a sham funeral and everything.
But like her family members didn't know that it was fake until she just like showed up at home.
Right.
And so like that's part of the conversations you have. Like some of them are like pissed about it when you talk with the family members. So
but not because of the emotional roller coaster. They're pissed because they thought they were about to get a fat inheritance, and now they're not.
Terrible people.
Like you don't really feel bad about the emotional trauma that they're undergoing because of her faked death.
Right. So I did the mission story again this time where I posed as the family photographer, and the photo is set up in front of a fountain. And there is one metal chair in front of the fountain where Alexa is going to sit, and the other family members are going to stand around her. And so you can create a leak from the fountain, and then you can sabotage an electrical outlet near where the leak is that like connects the electrical current to the metal chair. And when she sits in it, it's all tied to the it's like this old timey camera. And when you take the picture, 47 is taking the picture, of course.
It dressed as like a hipster photographer with like the big scarf and the beanie and stuff.
Yeah. When you take the picture, it electrocutes the chair and kills her, and it freeze frames on her like bouncing up out of the chair with this expression on her face. That's a really fun story, and it involves like you have to assume the role of the photographer, and he's just kind of hanging out there near the place where they're going to take the photo, and you have to figure out how to get him isolated. This time part of his routine is he goes and takes a drink, so rat poison in the drink. He'll go to throw up in the bushes, and you can take his disguise from there.
Yeah, I think you got to like get replace a fuse in a box so the camera works, and then set up the water trap in the right order. I am one of the ways I die most frequently in this game is by like setting up water electricity traps in the wrong order and killing and electrocuting myself.
Yeah, that makes sense. I remember trying to set one up in the Berlin level and just like couldn't get it to work. But in this one I did get it. So that mission story is fun, but the murder mystery one's really involved and will like take you into like multiple places in the mansion. There's like a hidden room where people were spying on the guy who died. There's a lot of shit that you can learn through that mission story.
It's a classic, like, old school, like, mansion. So, like, yeah, there's, like, a handful of these little hidden rooms that you can access by either, like, tilting a painting or pulling a book or,
Yeah.
like, pressing a divot in the floor to open a secret wall. But the murder mystery is, like, it's a legit thing. Like, it's a fully, like, you question people, you have to, like, collect evidence from every room. The
Yep.
the investigator's disguise is one of those skeleton key disguises that takes you anywhere.
Mhm.
And, like, it's so easy to lose yourself in it that, I sometimes I like, there are times I've, like, forgotten that I'm actually here to kill Alexa Carlisle,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I
Just doing
and
the
that,
murder
like, my
mystery,
my
yeah.
main job here isn't actually to solve the mystery of Zachary's murder.
Right.
But what I think is really cool about it is that there are, I hope you got, like, all the way to the end of it at least once, because there are, like, a number of different things you can choose to do once you have all the information.
Mhm.
Um, I don't remember exactly who is who, but, like, there is somebody who is responsible for the murder.
Yeah.
And you can tell Alexa like, you can meet Mr. Fernsby the butler in the main room
Yeah.
whenever you're ready, and tell him that you know who did it and you're ready to talk to Alexa, and he'll lead you up to her office, and that's kind of what gets you in the room.
Mhm.
And so from there, like, you could do nothing. You could just, like, kill her and whatever. You can tell her which of her family members is such a piece of shit that she'd kill her brother Zachary, which will make her very angry. And I think she does a thing where she, like, first agrees to give you the case file. So there's, like, a little, like, environmental puzzle you have to solve to get into the safe to get the case file.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she'll just give it to you if you deliver her the correct answer.
Okay.
You can pin it on the butler.
Mm.
I forget if that has any, like, major benefit. Oh, but after she gives you the case file, she does that thing where she goes and just, like, broods outside on the
Yeah.
roof,
That's what I
and
did
so you
the
can
first
sneak up
time.
behind her and push her off.
Yep, that's what I did the first time because I remember escaping down, like, the ladders on the outside of the building. Yeah.
Yeah, but one of the two of the coolest outcomes of that is, like, either one. Actually, this might be what happens if you tell her that the butler did it, is that she, like, shit cans the butler probably, but it means the person who did do it, who is, I don't remember any of their names. It's, like, the woman in the blue shirt. I think it's,
Mm.
like, her daughter or daughter-in-law or something like that. She's the one who set up the chemistry set out in the greenhouse.
Mhm.
That's where she's been made. You discover that that's where she's been making the poison.
Right.
And so if you don't reveal that it's her, and you don't do anything that makes Alexa Carlisle take other drastic action, then what will happen is that she'll go out and make more poison and poison Alexa Carlisle herself.
Oh,
So
hell
you don't
yeah.
even actually have to take out Alexa Carlisle. I'm pretty sure that, like, if you let her, the person who's actually guilty, go free, she'll do it again to your target.
That kicks
Uh,
ass. Love
the
that.
other cool thing is that if you're thorough enough, you eventually uncover that Alexa and her brother Zachary killed someone in their family, like, a long, long time ago.
Mhm.
Their other brother, maybe, and I want to say, like, maybe Mr. Fernsby helped cover it up or something like that.
Mhm.
And so if you tell Alexa that you know that, and maybe even try to convince her that, like, that Zachary committed suicide out of guilt for that,
Mhm.
she will go out onto her balcony and throw herself off the roof,
Oh, okay.
and kill herself out of guilt
Jeez.
for
Yeah.
all of that. Like, it gets like, some of them can get pretty dark
Yeah, and just really interesting that all of those spin out from that one
from the single mission
from
story.
the one mission story. Yeah. That's super
It's
cool because I do
it's really,
remember,
really
like,
intricate.
the way the mission story is set up, it's like, okay, you do your investigating, then come back and tell me who did it, basically. So
Mhm.
it just
You can collect
depends.
as much or as little of the evidence that you want, but
Yeah.
I do appreciate that the game kind of tells you how much evidence there is, so, like, you're never unsure of whether or not you have it all.
Yeah. Good touch. So that is the Dartmoor.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry, one more
yeah.
thing. This level has one of my favorite pieces of 47 dialogue in all three games.
Okay, let's hear it.
Right after you after you, like, steal the investigator's disguise and, like, introduce yourself to Alexa, and you're like, "Hey, I'm here to solve the mystery," etc., etc. She's like, "Well, I suppose you'll want to start with the crime scene." So she's going to take you up to Zachary's room, where
Uh-huh.
Zachary still is, like, his body's still in there. And when she says, I imagine that you'll want to start with the crime scene, his line is, in my experience, a thorough inspection of a potential crime scene is a job half done. Which is just like the best.
Yeah.
The best line.
What are those lines that, like, if someone said that to you in real life, you'd be like, hold on, what?
Yeah,
you know what?
Like,
never mind.
That's a weird way to phrase that.
Yeah. You know what? Never mind. And the delivery, again, the voice actor for 47 is just like perfect with those deliveries.
In my experience.
Yeah.
Very deadpan.
So good. So that's the Dartmoor mission. We don't always talk about these between mission cutscenes, but between Dartmoor and Berlin. So you've killed the final member of Providence. Alexa is dead. I guess the Constant's still alive, but you've killed the three. And Lucas Gray was out in the woods, running interference for you, and he gets ambushed by a bunch of soldiers out there, like tactical. They're not normal soldiers. They're like tactical mercenaries.
Yeah, they're from Cicada, which is like an organization we've seen before. I think they were like doing the security at the Paris Fashion Show and on a couple of other missions. Like they're a paramilitary organization.
Yeah, and they surprise him in the woods and they kill him out in the woods. So one of 47's goals is like coming to an end. He's killed most, if not all, of Providence at this point. But now we have this new thing where things are getting personal, where it's like probably like one of the two people in the whole world that he might consider to be an actual friend just got killed out in the woods.
Yeah, well, and and we actually lose them both in the same scene.
Yes.
Or we start to lose them both in the same scene. So like what actually happens is that like Cicada has him surrounded in the woods, and we notice that 47 has like disguised himself as a Cicada agent. So he's like right there, and like clearly Lucas Gray is cornered. He's got nowhere to go. He's up against a tree. He's wounded. And he looks at 47 and can see that 47 is about to break his cover to save his life. Like he's gonna turn his gun on the other agents, right? And Lucas Gray is inside. He's like, you can't do that. You're gonna blow this whole thing. And so he grabs a gun and he shouts something like, "Tell the Constant to start running," and he shoots himself in the head.
Yeah, that's right.
So to protect 47's cover.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we also see that Diana has been contacted by the Constant, who has recently escaped, and is kind of doing that like, hey, you thought you had me, but you didn't have me kind of thing.
Yep.
And I think this is when he reveals that 47 is the one who assassinated her parents.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So she's like, what's being communicated here is that Diana and 47, and even Lucas Gray to an extent, have all been played by Arthur Edwards. We have eliminated the top brass of Providence and created a vacuum that Arthur Edwards can now step into. And because Arthur Edwards has escaped, he's like, thanks for doing my dirty work. And also, like, Lucas is gone. Like, 47's out there on his own. What are you going to do now? Like, I hold all the cards.
Yeah.
And Diana's like, 47 will find you. Like, what makes you think I would betray him? And that's when he shows her the file. And she's like, Arthur Edwards is like, you don't owe him anything. And it, at least in this moment, appears to us that like Diana's a little bit swayed by this.
Yeah.
She's like, oh shit.
That becomes like the primary basis of the story to me for the rest of the game is what is going on with Diana now? What does she think? And then eventually, like, is she actively betraying 47 now? Because there's the other person that you meet up, like the other like hacker person that you meet up. I forget her name. Olivia, right. But she's not Diana. Like, Diana's like the only person left that like 47 probably like really, really genuinely cares about. And so now that relationship's in question for the rest of the story.
Yeah, so they're kind of separated now. Like we
Yeah.
don't actually hear from Diana much after this until the very end. And
Right.
our final instructions from Lucas Gray are get to Berlin, find Olivia.
Yeah.
You'll be safe there, right?
Right.
And then when we get to Berlin, it turns out that we're not.
Right. It's crawling with ICA agents who 47 is a hunted man now. So this mission's interesting because you don't have a handler in your ear talking to you through the mission. What you do is you end up at this warehouse rave, and you kill one of the ICA agents out in like the forest outside of the club, and you take his earpiece. And so you're not listening to mission handlers like usual. You're listening to the other ICA agents over the radio.
You're eavesdropping because at this point ICA is fully compromised. Like
Right.
they are working on behalf of Providence, and they are here for 47.
And ICA is 47's former like
Yeah.
agency. So
Yeah.
your goal in Berlin is really interesting. It's this huge club level, and your goal is not specific targets. Your goal is to kill a certain number of ICA agents. And do you know how many there are in total?
I think there's like 9 or 12 possible
Yeah,
targets. I
and you
think
have
you
to
only have
kill
to kill
like
5 of them.
yeah, 5 of them. Just to send a message to them that like 47's out here and you can't do shit with 47. Like this is purely just 47 is like, well, you know what? We're showing them we're sending a message. So you go to the club. And like I said, the first time I did this level, I did stuff only in the club section of this level, the dance floor area, the DJ area, kind of the techs, stuff like that. And then the second time, I didn't go in that area at all. Not a single time. I did stuff in other parts of the level. So you have this club level with all the dancers. You have the techs, the DJs, stuff like that. And then you have this other level with this like motorcycle gang, biker gang that's like smuggling drugs. And they have this whole operation like stuffing drugs into these little dolls and stuff like that. And that takes up a huge part of the real estate in the level too. And you have targets in like multiple, like they're scattered all over this. So you can choose like, I think the club is super cool, so I'm just going to kill club targets. Or you can go anywhere you want and kill any of them as long as you get 5.
I think one of the brilliant things about the design of this level, particularly from a first playthrough, is that you don't, unlike, I'm pretty sure this is the case, unlike most missions where like the moment you start, you can bring up instinct mode and see the red outline of wherever your target is.
Yeah.
There are, 9 or 12 possible targets on this map, but they don't become targets for you in like instinct mode until you get close enough.
Right.
And so like as you kind of wander, I imagine it's like certain spots on the map trigger the dialogue in your earpieces, and their handler will start talking to Agent Tremaine, and then like suddenly like one of the NPCs near you will blink red, and you'll know like, oh, that's one of the ICA agents that's here to kill me, so that's one of my targets now.
Right.
So you'll kind of find them wherever you go. So that first playthrough, you're sort of free to explore whatever's interesting.
Yeah.
And you'll still probably stumble across targets.
Yep. And so the first time we had talked about like many of these maps, if not all of them, have what might feel like a canon mission story. And I did one the first time that kind of felt like that, where you like become the club owner and you have like this meeting with like several ICA agents all together and like other guards and stuff
who themselves are disguised as part of the biker gang.
Yeah. And it's like you have this meeting with them in this like, this like dimly lit, it feels like it's straight out of like a mafia movie type of thing. And I remember like you get in that mission, you go through the meeting, and then eventually it's like, okay, this is your chance to take them all out. And it's like one of the very few gunfights I've ever done in Hitman. Where it's like hiding behind a chair, like flip a table, like stuff like that. You
flip the big desk up, and then there's like a shotgun under it you can grab.
Right. So that one was really cool. I did that my first playthrough. And I also did, 47 got on the turntables, did some DJing just to see it, because it's like, they put that shit there. 47 can get up there and start spinning records. So yeah, you've done that that meeting with the mobsters, we'll say.
Yeah, and it's like this one doesn't also this is another one of those ones that doesn't have any like proper mission stories, and this is probably one of the most like scripted cinematic moments on this map.
Yeah.
Is the Hirschmuller, I think his name is the club owner, but it is this like if you understand what's happening, it is this like high tension conversation because like when they come in, like this was a meeting that was actually supposed to happen
Yeah.
between the owner of the club, Hirschmuller, and the biker gang who is like providing security. Except that like when the meeting actually takes place, you are impersonating Hirschmuller and the other ICA agents are impersonating biker gangs. So the
Yeah.
meeting that was supposed to happen is not actually happening.
Right.
You're both there kind of like I know who you are, you know who I am.
Hmm.
And this is like you said, this really like kind of high stakes, like who's going to hold their nerve longer, and then
Yeah.
it turns into like a legitimate gunfight.
Yeah. It's very cool. And like really tense. Like when you're sitting in that meeting beforehand, you're like, this is like Hitman kind of trains you to think about getting out of situations in certain ways. And it's like, well, if I need to kill them all in this room, we can't do it the way I normally play Hitman. This is going to be something a little different. So it's really tense of like, when is it going to pop off?
Yeah, that room has a little like back exit that you can quickly like climb up a pipe in like an exhaust duct kind of uh passageway.
Hmm.
So like even if things get hairy, you can pretty quickly escape if you know that's there, which is
Yeah.
handy. But because this map doesn't have as many like fully scripted mission stories, I think of it more as having just a lot of like accident assassinations that you can set up
Yeah. Yeah.
that are really good. So there's like back behind the building where the biker gang hangs out. There is like this crane that has a big suspended like one of those giant like concrete pipes that is like
Hmm.
like two human beings height like in diameter,
Yeah.
and it's just hanging there.
Hmm.
And one of the targets ends up being a guy that patrols like right underneath it. And so
Yeah.
if you can sneak back there, and like I think you probably have to find like pop a fuse in there to power it up, but then you can kind of like maneuver this thing around and drop it right on him when he's like in the right spot.
Love that.
Is a really good one.
There was one in the warehouse where the bikers are walking around where you can just like push a sack of bricks off of a thing onto a guy as he walks underneath it,
Yep.
which is always satisfying to time up.
I think one of the floors in the biker gang building has like a little like kind of makeshift grow house in it. Like
Yes, it does. Yeah.
and I believe that one of the targets is in that area, and it has like it's one of those ventilation traps. So if you can find some like poison, you can poison the ventilation system and like exhaust sedative
Oh,
or lethal
gotcha.
poison or something in there and kill everyone in there or knock
This
them out.
um this map for me just felt like a bunch of little mini sandbox opportunities because the all the targets are like pretty contained to like certain areas, or at least they all feel like they're this is my little like floor of this one building, and this guy never leaves it. Or there's like one who's in like the bike garage just working on bikes. And so it led to a lot less, again, like a lot less of those like scripted sequences and more just like, what do I know about this area? And I'm doing like real basic Hitman stuff, like turning on a radio to get a guy to walk into a corner where no one else can see him. Stuff like that. Or like the guy that's in the grow house, I couldn't figure out, a more involved way to do it. So he turns a corner where there's no one else looking into this hallway, and I just threw a screwdriver at him and ran away. Like
There you go.
little stuff like that. And there's a couple others outside where they're just, it's just a guy who's hanging out near some tall grass. I throw a soda can over into the grass, and then you choke him out and snap his neck in the grass and stuff like that. Like just real basic Hitman stuff, but it's fun to just be like, this is the situation. Here are all the people who might see it. Here's the place where they won't see it. And how do I get them over to that place? Like little stuff like that.
Yeah, and so much of the level feels really exposed. So it's like even when you find those little pockets where you're like, I can get away with choking this guy out and dumping him in a dumpster without anybody seeing, you're often still not that far away from other people because
Yeah.
like every little nook and cranny has like groups of club goers just like hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times you're like on the other side of like a thin like secure like temporary security barrier
Yeah.
wall, and not like technically in another room. Uh,
Yeah.
one of the other things that's cool about this is there's one of the agents is up in the sniper's nest in the
Yes. Yeah.
bike biker gang building, and on we didn't talk too much about it here on this side of the spoiler wall, but this mission starts up on a road, um, not like a little ways up the hill from the club,
Mm-hmm.
with just like the only objective is find Olivia, and so you kind of like find a an abandoned vehicle and walk down the trail, and that's where you encounter the first guy that you take out and take out his earpiece so you know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And on that trail, you walk past a radio tower. And if you can climb up to the top of that radio tower with a sniper rifle, you can kind of get into like a snipe off, because
Oh,
you have like a
okay.
perfect sight line to the sniper nest that's in the biker gang building.
Gotcha. That's cool. I definitely climbed the radio tower, but like I got up there and I was like, there's nothing for me up here to do right now. So that's
Yeah,
interesting
because
that you can see.
especially the first time, because your targets aren't marked.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Anything else from Berlin that stands out? I mean, I feel like we're selling it a little bit short. It's a really fucking cool level.
Yeah, I mean, it's the other cool thing about the first playthrough. The two other things I want to say. One is the cool thing about the other cool thing about the first playthrough is what you're hearing in the earpiece chatter,
Mm-hmm.
because you all of these characters like all 9 of these agents and their handler are characters that like have personalities that you come to know, and it's really interesting. Like each time you take a person out, everybody gets a little bit more panicked,
Yeah.
and the handler is constantly saying things like, come on guys, get your shit together, he's just one guy, like
Mm-hmm.
how can he be taking it right? And each time you take one out, it's like, Agent Brenner, are you there? Ah, damn it, he got another one.
Yeah.
Until finally, like when you take enough out, they're like, you know what, I'm calling it off, I'm pulling you all out of the field, I'm not losing any more of you to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you're cued to make your escape. So a lot of
Yeah.
that is like in the kind of, it feels like there are no targets, but there are actually like 9 or 10 personalities that you come to know over the course of the mission. So it's
Mm-hmm.
still kind of like an interesting narrative experience. But then this, probably more than like any of the other ones, I feel like you need to give the disclaimer that like it's not like this on future playthroughs. Like the
Mm-hmm.
next time you play this and you start from like a normal starting position rather than like the canon starting position that the
Yeah.
narrative demands, it it plays like a normal level. Like you have 5 targets, they're all in red.
Mm.
You know them from the beginning. It doesn't feel as railroady
Yeah.
or as like
Hmm.
as curated of an experience
Yeah.
as they definitely wanted it to that first time.
It's interesting. I on the replays, I always started at the default like first playthrough location because I had forgotten, it had been so long since I played them. So I started on the road near the gas station and had to find the targets, just like the first playthrough. So
Interesting.
I guess if you start at that starting location, you still have to go through all that stuff, which I think makes the mission better. If you're just doing it for the sandbox, maybe not, but for like playing through the story of
It
Hitman
is an
3,
immersive experience for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
very cool.
and most of them like they're I don't want to call them like secondary starting locations because they're not like starting undercover like a lot of missions have. And they do like you can start undercover, but like most of these levels have like a first playthrough starting and then like an alternative default starting, right? So
Okay.
like for Dubai, the first playthrough starting is like outside the building because
Yeah.
you've just skydived in, right?
Mhm.
The alternative default starting might start you like just after you've changed into a suit. So you're still not undercover, you're still at the beginning, but you
Yeah.
don't like start with the framing of the opening cinematic.
Yeah, and you don't have to learn how to use the camera and stuff like that the
Exactly.
second
So in this
time.
case, like this I think the secondary starting just like literally starts you down where you like break through the fence.
Yeah.
So like you might already have the earpiece or not need it or something like that. Uh, but like you don't start deep in the level. You just don't have to walk the trail that does the mood setting the first
Yeah.
time you do it.
Miss that spooky gas station.
I ran around there for so long thinking there'd be something, and there's just nothing there.
Yeah,
Like
there's just
nothing
like
happens.
a
There's like a flyer for the club,
yeah, and a vending machine, I think, and that's about
but
it.
like nothing to interact with. I kept expecting like to find, I don't know, evidence of something,
Yeah, just a gas station.
but very very atmospheric, like very
Yeah,
mood setting. It's very it really like hammers home the isolation that you should be feeling now that like Lucas and Diana are basically out of the picture for the time being,
yep,
and 47's kind of in this starting this phase where he's got to figure out what needs done on his own.
yep. And speaking of what needs done, the next level takes you to Chongqing. I can't pronounce Chinese words. Apologies if.
I think that's how he says it in the cutscenes. I
Well,
think
there we go. We know
47
that
says
47
Chongqing.
can speak Chinese, so like,
There's no way he
canonically,
can't.
yeah, exactly. So what you're doing in that mission, like the object is to take out two people in the level, and the secondary objective, which again is one of these like James Bondy kind of spy type objectives, is to like get into a server facility and delete all of the records that ICA is holding of 47's upbringing, his past, things like that. So 47's taking the war to ICA, and the first thing he's doing is deleting everything related to him and Diana and others.
Yeah, but it's their master data facility, right?
Yeah,
Like Berlin was supposed to be where 47 and Olivia like could safely reconvene, and it ended up being a shit show because the ICA was there to ambush them.
yeah,
And so after that mission, we get this cutscene where 47 and Olivia do finally meet up. Olivia's hurt, and 47's like, okay, we're clearly not going to be safe from the ICA, and like they've got it out for us. We've got to end this.
yep,
And because I used to work for them, I happen to know where they store all of their data.
yep,
And it's this like secure data facility in Chongqing.
yep,
And
and
the two targets are like the people that run it.
yep. I did write their names down. Hush is this guy who's doing these really fucked up like transhumanistic experiments in this like you know, not a legit medical facility. It's like an apartment block turned into a medical facility. And then the other target named Imogen, who kind of oversees that data storage facility down there. And so Hush is involved with, for my money, the best mission story in the whole game, which is he is basically tricking homeless people into taking part in his like brain control experiments. And so 47 can assume the role of like their perfect test subject, who is also a bald white man, looks just like him, which is great. Anytime you get into these mission stories and it's like, here's your person you have to impersonate, and it's just like another bald white guy, and you're like, hell yeah, 47,
Convenient.
perfect. So you take the role of this guy, and so what happens in the mission story is you get into this chair across from Hush, and Hush and 47 both have these kind of like headset things on where Hush's brain waves are like manipulating the test subject's brain waves, and like he can make you move your limbs and stuff against your will. And it's like fucking up the people who are doing it. But 47 has the strongest willpower of any person who's ever lived, and mental fortitude and everything like that. So you keep getting in the chair, and he keeps trying to like use his brain waves to make 47 like lift his arm up and stuff. And you can always resist it. And it will always like cause sparks to fly out of the machine. It will always like hurt Hush
Like
pretty
doing
badly.
psychic damage to him.
Yeah, literally. And so you can do this like multiple times over and over, and his aides will keep telling him like, one of them is like, it don't turn the power up, it's going to hurt you. And then the other aide is like, turn it up, you're supposed to be the best, like turn it up. And so 47, obviously he can handle any of this. He can handle whatever that machine is capable of. Doesn't matter to him. And so you keep doing this over and over and over again. He keeps getting hurt by this machine because 47 is just unbreakable. And eventually, I don't know how many times you can repeat this before he like gives up. I did it like 4 times, and eventually he goes into this other like side room where he's by himself. And I that was a point where he was alone, and I could just like slip in there and take him out in there.
Oh, that's how you did it.
Yeah.
So if you actually, because so he's got the two like research assistants that are like one's always like encouraging him to be safe, and the other one's always encouraging him to like push the envelope.
Yeah.
If you take out the one that is like urging him to be cautious,
Oh.
he will listen to the other one and let
Oh.
let her turn the power up. And if you do that, then like you literally kill him in the chair.
Oh shit.
Like
I
your
didn't know
force
that.
of will fight like pushes back so hard that like his chair short circuits and he like dies right there, and then you just get up and walk away.
I thought that was going to happen eventually, but I eventually was like, I've done it so many times that I was like, I'm just going to go in that room and take him out. I didn't know about taking out the other the
Because he keeps
aide.
asking to like push up the power, and she's like, "No, you can't take it." And
Yeah.
so you gotta get rid of that voice that's saying don't, no, don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cuz the mission story will just get you in the chair. And
Yeah,
then it ends. So that's really cool. I didn't know that. I just took it as like I thought that that would work that way, but it didn't. So I was like, okay, maybe it just hurts him so he goes in that other room by himself, and that's my chance. The first time I played this level, there was some other thing where he like would go out on the roof and do something out on the roof, and I just like shot him from a different rooftop because I couldn't figure out something else. The second time I had a lot more fun with it. And it's just like every time 47's in that chair, resisting it, and it is just like, everything about 47's made of steel. And it's just really funny to me that he's like, turn up the power even more, and 47's just like, nope, snap back into it. I'm
yeah,
back in control. It's really good.
yeah,
Is there another way to take out Hush that's like, I mean, there's other ways obviously, but
yeah. I'm sure there are a couple, but the I believe this one has, so this whole level is super like cyberpunk coded.
yeah.
Like it's a neon city, and I think in real life, like Chongqing is like one of the most like surveilled cities in the world.
Yeah,
Like
they do say
there's
that.
this
Yeah.
constant presence of like security cameras, and like Imogen Royce has these like drones and stuff that are flying over.
Mhm.
And I think this map has, I think it only has 3 mission stories, and I think there's one for each of them, and then one that gives you an opportunity to get both of them.
Oh, okay.
And so the one that lets you get both of them, because I think the other one you did was the one that was specific to her, right? With the
Yes,
computer system. Yeah, I'll
my
let you talk.
first playthrough, yeah, I did the one where it basically just tells every employee that it's break time, so she gets left alone.
Oh yeah,
And maybe that's not a mission story. Maybe that's just one of those little things you can find.
it might be there. I know that there's a thing where you can like, there's somebody that is on the map that is there to have a guided tour of the facility.
Okay.
And I believe that you find him in like the ramen restaurant, like at street level.
Mm.
And you kind of have to do this sequence of events where like you got to go sneak. You have to like disguise yourself as a chef at the restaurant so that you can poison his ramen, and then he'll get sick and he'll go into the bathroom, and then you climb out the window and climb into the bathroom and knock him out so you can take his suit. But then you also got to like go find the apartment he's staying in to get like the paperwork that you need for when you get the guided tour.
Mhm.
And then that'll get you into this underground facility, which is where like the ICA stuff is happening. And Imogen Royce takes you on like a personal tour around the facility. And when you get to her office, she's kind of like a behavioral researcher or something like that.
Mhm.
And so she has this like computer console in her room where she has like 3 or 4 different employees like on camera, and has like told you with like 99.9987% certainty what will happen uh like immediately after any one of those employees is fired, and like one of them's got to be fired. So as like a demonstration of her confidence in this, she lets you choose which one to fire, and you
Mm.
can like fire all of them, but it's one of those things where like it's like 4 tiles on the screen and you just click one, and
Mhm.
then when you click one you hear like a facility wide like PA system go like, Brad Andrews, you are being terminated, please clear out your things and whatever, right? And she's predicted that he's going to call his mom, and he does. You can see him on the screen. He steps off to the side and pulls out his phone and calls his mom. And I forget, I think I think the thing I did when I did this is I made the woman who mines the like the central core chamber.
Mm-hmm.
I fired her so that there wouldn't be someone to see me like push Imogen Royce into the
Oh,
like
nice.
cooling vat or whatever. I think
Hell
that's how
yeah.
I got her. But I think that terminal mechanic is a thing you can use to take out Imogen in a handful of ways.
Gotcha. That's super fun. I remember the guy in the ramen restaurant, but I must have abandoned that like halfway through or something like that. Because I
It's a
definitely
lot of
did.
steps.
Yeah, I definitely did the first time where it was like everyone's on break and now she's by herself. I did that. The second time, I was trying something in the facility and it just wasn't like working out. And so I just like unscrewed some vents, hid in the vent, and as she walked by, I just threw a screwdriver and then just like continued down through the vents. And so
The
after you
little connecting tunnels down there are great.
yeah, they're fantastic. And then so after you take her out, there's the secondary mission of like deleting all the files. So you go in the server room, you delete all the files. It initiates this like facility-wide lockdown basically. And there's like explosions and shit, like there's a bunch of stuff on fire and you have to escape from the facility, which is like not a Hitman thing. It's like everyone's hostile, the
Routes
facility's on
that routes
fire.
that you could have taken in are no longer open to you because
Yeah.
there's fire. Yeah.
Yeah. The first
It's like
time
a
I
high
played the
intensity
game,
escape.
this was so fucking difficult. I got so mad at this. The time I replayed it, it was not a problem whatsoever. I don't know what was wrong with me the first time I played it, but it was just like the first time I just like kept getting caught by guards, and like the second time I didn't. I saw a couple of guards, but I was like just in and out basically. um, but this was another thing that really felt like this is like a thing James Bond would do. This is not like the end of how Hitman levels usually work. Um,
Yeah.
and, you know, I'm glad it was a lot easier the second time.
Yeah. It's a really like pulse pounding sequence
Yeah.
compared to anything else that's happened in the game because you do I mean there mostly isn't the map state has changed but like the fire doesn't spread or anything so there mostly isn't a real sense of urgency but
Hmm.
you feel a sense of urgency because there's sirens blaring and fire and like
Is
all the
there,
guards have been replaced with guards that have gas masks on and
yeah. Is there not a timer? I could have sworn there was a timer.
I don't think so. I could be
Maybe I'm
wrong.
just imagining something else. But yeah, I definitely felt an urgency regardless of if there was a timer or not. So,
Yeah. There's a really cool mission story on this map where there's a sniper nest like up on the top floor of the building that I think has the laundromat in it.
mhm.
And from it you can shoot down some of the like flying camera drones.
Yeah.
And if you shoot down enough of them, they're I think it's Imogen Royce that they belong to, but it's like a thing that her and Hush butt heads about. And so if you shoot down enough of them, Imogen will call Hush and demand that she meet them, and they both come out of their fortresses and meet in this like skyway like tunnel
Mm.
that you have a perfect line of sight on, and then you can shoot them both with a sniper rifle. I think there's like uh, oxygen tank out over there, so if you like loosen that ahead of time, you can take them both out in an
Mm.
explosion there, which is pretty cool.
Nice. We didn't say this, and I'm sure we said it before, but I like how this game, say you just shot them in that scenario and you didn't, but you like when you're lining up the shot, you see the oxygen tank, and it's like, maybe next time if I do this, I can go over there and like get a little bit more
Hmm.
interesting thing out of this. And I was reminded of this playing the Dartmoor level above the target's office. There's like a balcony area up above inside, and there's like a laundry chute up there or something, and it gives you a button prompt to throw a propane tank in that chute.
Oh yeah, the
And
chimney vent, right?
yeah,
Is it because it would land in the fireplace down below?
yeah, and so I was like, that's so good. If I replay this mission, I'm gonna try to find a way to bring a propane tank up there because that's a very funny thing to do in the game. And then like I don't know what happens after you do that, but I'm sure it's going to be worth seeing.
Yeah, it's another one of those ways that the game entices you to replay it.
Yeah, they're just like, wouldn't it be fucking weird and fun if you did this? And I'm like, yeah, it would be. So
I
that
can't
that's
now,
super
but I will
cool.
come back and do it later.
Exactly. Yeah. Um,
Actually, I have one more thing about Chongqing.
yeah.
I'm always listening out for like the little bits of like ambient dialogue,
Hmm.
and a lot of them are the great 47 lines in like actual scripted like scenes. But one of the starting locations on this map has just begins you on like a skyway walk, and it's like pouring rain on
Yeah.
this map, and you're standing out there. You start just standing there like with an umbrella in your hand, and you're
Hmm.
standing next to this woman who's smoking. And I don't know if you heard this, but like if you it's one of those things where like you'll just stand there until you hit the button to like stop blending in or whatever the
Right.
prompt is called in that place.
Hmm.
And if you just stand there for a minute, like you start having a conversation with this woman. And this woman is like I think the first thing she says is like, "Hey, did you see a girl out there?" And like over the course of the conversation you come to learn that she's like supposed to be meeting up with this other girl for a date, and she's like nervous because she hasn't showed, and she's worried that she's getting stood up, and she's not sure if this girl actually likes her back or whatever. And like throughout all of it, 47 is just like genuinely giving like good human advice.
Hmm.
She's like, like if she agreed to meet you for drinks in the middle of the night, then she probably likes you.
Hmm.
And the woman's like, okay, well, I feel bad. She's probably like ruining her shoes or something like that. And 47's like, well, maybe you can offer to pick up the tab.
Hmm.
And like you can just let this go. Like nothing else comes of it. It doesn't tie into anything else in the story, but it's like just another thing that 47's good at is like genuinely being a good friend
Yeah.
for someone who has no like real human connections in his
Yeah.
life.
giving good advice to strangers. Yeah, the level of detail, again, like IOI, like people recorded voice lines, and like for this thing that, I don't know, when I get that prompt to stop blending in, I just stopped and started walking, and like,
Yeah.
so a lot of people probably won't see that. That's super cool.
Yeah, it's super awesome. And again, this is like the closer we get to the end of this, the more human we get, right?
Yeah,
Like
right.
we didn't go into too much detail of it, but what happens in that core at the very end before you escape is that you pull up all of the like all of the ICA files.
Yeah,
The plan here is to leak them to the world, right? This is how you take the ICA down is you make them public.
right.
And the first thing you have to do is delete all of the records of 47 and Diana
Yeah.
so you don't get in trouble. So, but like, so you do that, and then before you leak it, like, you have another conversation with Olivia, who's in your ear, and she's like, "Is this? Are you sure this is what you want? Like, you've never been anything else but this."
Hmm.
And again, 47's like, "Yeah, it's time for a change," and
Yep.
he leaks it and goes public.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's a good moment. The next mission is where like it really starts to be like, oh, I actually care about like what happens with this story. I care about 47, and I care about whether Diana is out here to betray him or not.
And we've been given the impression that she is.
Yeah,
I think by this point we've seen the constant approach her again and like be a little bit more explicit about how he's offering her the chance to be the next constant.
right. And she seems to be playing along with it. And so
Mhm.
part of the Mendoza mission, which is at the winery, there you have two targets on the map, but you also have the objective to meet up with Diana. And that's how the mission starts.
And
Is
make sure she doesn't die.
right. The mission begins with you meeting up with her outside of the winery and having like a conversation with her. And it seems like you kind of reach an understanding at the beginning of that mission. And so you go into that mission being like, okay, me and Diana, we're on the same side again.
Yeah.
Um, and so you go through the mission, you have your two targets. There's one of the targets is like, to me, much more interesting, like from a Hitman level perspective. That's like the one that like, I forget if she owns the winery or if she's just like
She's a
managing it.
Providence Herald.
Okay.
Tamara Vidal is a Providence Herald, and so she is actually like minding Diana Burnwood here.
Oh, okay. That's why they're following each other around the whole time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yates is the Archibald. Is that right? Archibald Yates.
can't remember.
Don Yates. Don Yates is the one who owns the winery, and the event that's happening here is his retirement party.
Okay, gotcha.
He's also part of Providence.
Yeah, of course. Um, So you have two targets. There's the lawyer guy, or no, you play as the lawyer guy in one of the mission stories. You have the guy who's often like the corner of the map, and then you have the one who's walking around with Diana the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Both times I played this, I have done the one where you pose as the lawyer, because it's like right when you walk into the level, it's the first thing you come across is a way to get deep into the level by posing as this guy's lawyer. So you can go into this like, house that's off on like the side of the grounds where the guy's hanging out. It's not the most interesting from there. It's just like it gets you in the room alone with the guy and his guards are outside the door, or maybe you take out the guards while the guy's upstairs or something like that. But I've done that both times. I don't really know a whole lot else about that target because it's just like I followed that to get there. I see that there's not really a whole lot going on with this guy, so just get this done. The other target, that's the one where like you get some like real good mission story stuff.
Yeah.
So the first time I played this, I set up the winery tour. And there are, to my knowledge, two really cool ways that you can kill the target during the winery tour. The first time I played it, I did the tour. You have to pose as like someone who's here for the tour. It's another like, it's either another assassin or like a,
I think it's like Yates's, not bodyguard, but like his muscle.
Yeah. I was gonna say like
Corvo Black.
Yeah. So the first time I did that, got on the tour and I locked the woman in the freezer, the walk-in freezer, and that's how she died.
Some say she's still there to this day.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But the other one is as part of the winery tour, there's this huge industrial grape press, which you can sabotage the safety system on. And part of the tour is like she steps inside of the thing and you can like press a button and have her get pressed. But the second time I played this, the tour mission story was bugged. I could not get Corvo Black to move. No matter what I did, he would just lean up against that balcony inside.
Oh, that's such a bummer.
I did a different mission story, but have you done, I'll tell you about that, but have you done the grape press one?
I have. I've done both that and locked her in the freezer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are a couple of other places along the tour that you can do her in.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I think there's I don't know if it's but there's like a raised mezzanine with a bunch of entrances to like funnel entrances into some kind of containers or machinery, and you can just like push her into that. What's cool about the tour is that you can actually do it as two different people. You can either impersonate Corvo Black, or you can impersonate the like head, like
the sommelier. Yeah,
sommelier. That's what I forget what his actual name is. So you can either be the guy that's accompanying Diana and Vidal on the tour, or you can be the guy that's giving Diana, Vidal, and Corvo Black the tour.
Yeah.
And it plays out a little bit differently either way. Mostly the same opportunities, but
the mental image I have of 47 giving a winery tour is fantastic.
It's great. He's got the little hat and everything. It's so funny.
Yeah,
and, he knows what he's talking about when it comes to
on the second playthrough. I couldn't get Corvo Black to move, so I looked it up because it gives you the thing. It's like impersonate one of these two people, and the other guy was also bugged. He's supposed to get into a meeting with some workers, and I couldn't get him to do it. So that's when I pivoted to the other mission story that I had already opened up, but hadn't gone into anything with. The other mission story is just really fucking goofy. It is where you can get in with the snipers that are like watching the grounds, and you can use your camera. So you like get one of their earpieces by taking out a guard. You can use the camera to like show them a target and tell them like, this person needs to go. And so the snipers will take it out. You use it first on a watermelon. The snipers are just, they're fun guys. If you tell them to take out a watermelon, they'll do it.
Target practice.
Yeah. So you do that, but eventually you can get the target to walk out onto like these like raised gardens, take out her guards while she's walking out with Diana, and then call in the snipers to take her out. What's goofy about it is when they shoot her, her body bounces up into the air and over the railing into the winery, into the grape
ragdoll
fields.
Physics go hard sometimes.
Yeah. So that's the mission story I did, and it was a lot of fun. Just how goofy it was.
it's just such a good mechanic. Like, it just felt satisfying, similar to the Kashmirian back on Mumbai, where it's just like, if I understand the system properly, I can get somebody else to do my dirty work.
Yeah.
And I just think that's so brilliant.
And really good also because it's like it's not as simple as just get the camera and go find the target. You have to like get her to walk into sniper line of sight and stuff like that.
Yeah. This is weird. This is a weird one because I feel like the one that should be the one that makes the most sense as the canon mission story, I believe, is also like a hidden mission story. Like, it doesn't
Mm,
show up until the game has moved to a place where like you don't have to uncover the opportunities anymore. You just open up the mission story menu and be like, I want
mm,
this one, and it'll if you select it, it'll show you the first prompt. And this is one that like this level has this level has 4 mission stories, but if you look at the mission story menu before you launch the level, you'll only see 3. And closing
okay.
statement doesn't show up, but it's the one that I feel like is the meatiest in terms of story.
Okay.
And what it's about is it's actually I think it actually involves both of them, and so it kind of circles around every like all of the events of Don Yates's retirement, Diana being tapped, being a candidate for the new constant, and the fact that like there is like a meeting of Providence Heralds happening here alongside this retirement party.
Mhm.
And it's I believe it starts with you discovering, either overhearing or seeing written down somewhere, that there is a secret meeting that's supposed to take place, and Don Yates wants his head sommelier to open up a bottle of the 1945 Grand Paladin
Yeah.
wine, like this super rare. It's like there is a whole area of the winery that is like where they store the bottles and
Yeah, it's
casks
like
of like
in
finished
lockdown.
wine,
Yeah, I
and
stole
it's
that
like
wine. I just found it and stole it. Not
yeah,
related
it's
to the mission story.
behind several layers of security. And so
Yeah.
if you impersonate the sommelier and steal that bottle of wine, then you can attend a meeting of the Providence Heralds that is happening in the basement below his
Mm.
estate house. So you walk up and you stand at the head of this table, and Don Yates is standing on the other side. Uh, Diana and your other target, Vidal, are sitting on one side of the table, and the rest of the table is lined with other Providence Heralds.
Mm.
And so, like, the meeting begins with 47 holding up the bottle and delivering a classic, like, sommelier speech about the wine that he's about to serve you all.
Mhm.
And then you're welcome to stand there and listen to the meeting happen. I think it's kind of one of those, like, you are the help, you are the service staff. So, like, if you think you saw or heard something, no, you didn't. Like,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's like the
Yeah.
expectation here. So that's why you're allowed to sit there and stay. And if you stand there, what ends up happening is an argument where you learn that Don Yates is opposed to the idea of Diana Burnwood becoming the next constant, and
Mhm.
is like really pissed off that Vidal is here because she mostly works for Edwards.
Mhm.
And so like they're kind of butting heads over this. And at a certain point, as like a show of like intimidation to all the other heralds, Don Yates is like, I'm gonna vote against her, right? Because this is a thing that gets put up for a vote, who's gonna be the next constant. And Vidal starts to make an argument, and I'm pretty sure that Don Yates just like pulls a gun out of his coat and shoots her in the head.
Jesus.
So he kills her for you.
Mm.
And then Diana, like a couple of guards step forward, and Don Yates like kind of mean mugs the rest of the table and is like, "So we're gonna vote against her, right?"
Mm.
Um, and then just to make sure, he has some of his guards take Diana up to his room, like up on the top floor of his estate.
Mhm.
And I think you probably need to quickly switch into a guard disguise. But if you follow up there, it's clearly a situation where he plans on murdering Diana.
Mhm.
And you are there to be like, when he does something like, say, any last words or whatever, you can pop him. You can take
Uh-huh.
out the other guards. And then Diana's there, and this is such an interesting level because Diana's never been on a map before.
Yeah, right.
And so like she just kind of stands there surrounded by bodies, and she's like, clean yourself up and meet me on the dance floor. And so then she leaves. And so you got to hide the bodies. And then there's like a suit hanging there. And you put it on, and it's like the formal suit. And so Diana out in the middle of the dance floor is one of the exit points to this level.
Oh, nice.
And so if you walk right up to her, you'll start dancing. You get very close and you start dancing. And you kind of like do a little bit of a debrief. And it feels like kind of nice.
Yeah.
But then we pivot into the
Then
cinematic.
you get the cutscene. Yeah. Where 47 is exiting the level, and then suddenly dudes come out of the bushes and like at gunpoint, and then Diana shows up, and she like tranquilizes 47. Like,
It's an ether brand neurotoxin. Ether
Yeah.
is the company responsible for that bioweapon back in Sapienza.
It's
And the
it's all
implication
connected.
is that getting that close to dance is
Yeah.
how she got it on him.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like she pulls out a little trigger and hits it, and like, you know, you start to see like his veins turn green, and he like keels over and falls to the floor.
Mhm.
And like, if you were one of those players that thought, no, there's no way she'll betray him,
Right.
you're now sitting here thinking, holy shit, she did betray him.
Yep.
She really did.
Mhm.
And she like gives a little speech about how, like, you know, I was your biggest weakness, and yada yada yada, and now I was only using you, and now I have this opportunity to claim this power by
Yeah.
being the constant. So goodbye.
Yeah.
Fade to black.
Yeah, real kick in the stomach. Because like that, you know, you got into that Mendoza mission, you talk to Diana, and then everything seems fine. You do a little exhale, and you're like, all right, 40, let's do 47 stuff. As you're walking around the Mendoza level 2, you'll like cross paths with Diana a bunch of times. And so you can imagine them just like kind of making quick eye contact, just being like, yeah, you know, what's up? We're good.
All the little ways that they speak to each other to not reveal that they know each other is also very entertaining.
There's a good scene that I saw at the bar where it's in the mission where 47's trying to get Diana to go out onto the garden with the target so the snipers can take the shot. And it's a very like, I know you, you know me, but no one else can know that. So like 47 just makes some remark about like, oh, I hear the gardens are nice at this time of the evening or some bullshit like that. And she's like, yeah, I may just try that out. Thank you. And then she goes out and suggests it, and they head out. So
good.
Yeah. The last level of the main campaign then is the Carpathian Mountains, which is the train level. The Carpathian Mountains are like in the region where 47 like was raised, like the
in Romania, where the orphanage or wherever he and Lucas Gray grew up.
Whatever word you would describe to describe that facility, yeah. And it's the train level, and you wake up and 47's in a hospital gown because like they thought they captured him, and so they brought him onto this train. I'm not clear on like why. What did the Constant think was going to happen by bringing 47 on this train? Like, are they studying him?
I'm pretty sure that the intention was to wipe his memory again and use him
using the thing they're developing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, using what you we'll get to that in a second, but yeah, like I think the plan was that he like, I mean, okay, we don't have to like lampshade the story the same way that the game does, right?
Right.
So what we end up learning is that like Diana hasn't actually betrayed 47. What she's done
is just a way to get
like
47 there.
Played a 4D chess move because she knew that Arthur Edwards would not be able to help himself.
Yeah.
If she killed 47, she might not be able to do what she wants to do, which is to become the Constant and dismantle Providence from the inside. But by hanging 47 out as a potential asset to be claimed, she knew that Arthur Edwards wouldn't be able to help himself from seizing him. And I think his intent was to like wipe his memory again and use him as an assassin himself or whatever, right?
Yeah, because on the train, the scientists are talking about this selective memory deletion thing that they're developing. Yeah.
But what I love about the beginning of this level is that, I don't know, maybe it was obvious to you. To me, the first time I played it, it was not obvious to me that you're on a train.
No, it's not
Like, I
until
didn't even
you
really think much about how compact the room is, but
yeah.
you move through a couple of rooms before you, like, find a crowbar and open a door, and all of a sudden there's this cinematic moment where the camera, like,
Yeah.
pulls away and reveals that you're on a train racing through the Siberian
Yeah, I mean, like,
wilderness.
it not out of the realm of possibility that you're just in a small room and then a narrow hallway, and then you open a door and, oh shit, it's on a train. And so,
Yeah.
what's super cool about this is it's literally a start with nothing level, and as you move through the train cars, you just progressively keep getting better and better and more, Hitman gear. So you start out with just a hospital gown. You take out a doctor, you get the doctor's outfit. That allows you to go a couple of cars till you find your first guard. You take the guard's outfit, and as you go further and further and closer to Edwards at the end, the guards get stronger and stronger. Eventually, they get like night vision and like headlamps and stuff like that. And it's a linear like regular Hitman levels are like big puzzle box
You explore
spaces.
them.
You explore them. This one is like each room is a self-contained, how do I get through this one train car?
Mhm.
Um and
And you're just
sometimes
going from the back of the train to the front.
yeah, it's very simple, but like in the way that they're all little like mini puzzles is really fun. Sometimes the answer is just like there's a couple guards in here, I can take them out unseen. Sometimes the answer is like this guard is patrolling while he has his back turned. I take out the other one and drag them into like, a passenger compartment. And then when they're back with their back turned again, I take out the second guard. There's also parts on the train where you can like go out the window and like shimmy alongside the side of the train and then jump back in another window or get on top and you have to dodge the
The
metal
railroad
things that are coming over.
infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are areas where you, like, can slot fuses in and, like, flare the lights, and
Yeah.
so, like, there are, like, areas where there are, like, a dozen guards around, and you can just blind them all at once and run past them.
Yep. Um, and so it really feels like it's from a different game, but you're just using Hitman stuff to do everything. And I think it works really, really well. But it's set up in a way where it's like I have entered a new train compartment. Um, I used all my items in the last one because they're like, here's a crowbar,
Yeah.
a fuse, and a screwdriver.
And it's a lot of, like, rusty crowbars and
Yeah.
rusty nails, which
And
are, like, the
they'll
single-use
break.
versions.
Yeah. And so you'll often get into those new compartments with like a disguise that doesn't work anymore. You probably got a couple of guns, but other than that, if you want to do things, stealthy, you have to use what's available to you. And so it's like
Yeah.
I find like a valve wheel, a rusty crowbar, and one fuse. And so it's like, okay, how do I put these together so that I can get through this room without a
Kind of a
gunfight?
MacGyver.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Got some bubble gum. I got some toothpicks and a rubber band. I love this level. The first time I played it, I was more taken aback by how different it was. The second time I played it, I was just like, this is awesome. Like just going compartment to compartment. It rules.
The other notable thing is that every single NPC on the map is considered a Providence employee, and you have, like, up where your mission objectives are. It
Yes.
explicitly says that, like, Providence agents can all be killed
Yeah.
without penalty.
Right.
So, like, even though you only have one target, which is Arthur Edwards at the front of the train, like, you can kill everybody on this map, and the game won't penalize you for it.
Yeah. Just like kicking dudes off of the moving train,
It's
like all that stuff.
It's action movie shit. And, like, it's crazy that, like, my two there it's another one where there's no mission stories. But my two favorite ways to play this map, because I also love it, and I know this version of it wouldn't work, but I would love to see a version of a train level that could be used as, like, a Freelancer map.
Mm,
But this is not a map that ends up in the Freelancer playlist, obviously. But my two favorite ways to play it are suit only silent assassin and kill everyone.
yeah.
Like, explicitly, leave no NPC on the train alive.
Yeah. Even like the scientists and stuff, they're researching evil shit. Like everyone on the train has to go. So
Mhm.
yeah, don't
And
don't
and
feel
when you
bad
do
about
it that
that.
way, you're, like, so much less worried about like, you actually can kind of do the third person shooter
Yeah.
approach in this
Yeah.
one, because they're never gonna come at you from all sides. Like, they're only
Yeah.
ever gonna come at you from the front, right?
True.
So you can walk in and just start blasting.
Yeah, I do remember the first time I played, like you mentioned that one section where there's like 12 guys outside. I got in a
Mhm.
big gunfight with all those guys the first time I played.
Yeah, there are places where you can get overwhelmed if you're not careful.
Yeah.
But if you do plan ahead, like you can get into some pretty gnarly gunfights and come out okay.
And I can also, maybe it's just because of the simplicity of it, I can pretty easily see how like the suit only one would work on here because they always give you tools to like disable or stun the guards for a couple seconds to like run past them. And then once you're
It's
through a
mostly
door,
a
you're usually
maze.
good.
It's
Yeah.
mo it's mo it mostly feels like doing a maze because it's a lot of knowing like where to climb out the window and shimmy along and then where to climb back in and like when you get a little bit further in where like um you're into the train cars that feel a little bit more like offices or something. It's
Hmm.
a lot of like you've got three offices on one side and a guard patrolling the hallway. So you let him go all the way down to the end and then you sneak into the middle room. And then when he
Yep.
walks past, you go out into the next one.
Yeah, I mean, that's like Metal Gear Solid stealth right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So you just kind of make your way through the train cars, and then you have the confrontation with Edwards up at the front, which is a really good conversation. And then like, there's a point in the conversation where he realizes like he's lost. So he has this line where he's like, "All right, 47, do what you came here to do," and he turns his back to you. And you have a bunch of different things. You could do anything you want at that point. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think the first time I did it, is there a way to inject him with the memory loss thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember doing something that felt kind of fucked up the first time I played it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the worst. I don't feel that bad for him, but I walked away being like, "Ooh, oh, okay."
I love that. Like the whole sequence, like when you get to the front car, right before you enter it, there you have this you pull this lever and it like decouples
Yeah.
all
The
the other
previous
train cars.
cars.
And
Yeah.
so like they all whether or not you've left anybody alive on them, they all fade into the distance. And so it's just you and Edwards in here. And when you walk in, before like he's just sitting at this big desk, and the first thing he says before he even looks up, he goes, "I don't suppose there's any point in calling for help, is there?"
Right. Yeah.
Which is great. And then you have this whole conversation about like, like what brought you here and what kind of man you are and whether or not Diana like now you kind of know like you've put together why you're here. You're here because Diana didn't betray you because she saw an opportunity to get you close to Edwards.
Hmm.
And so he's like, do you really think Diana's going to be able to resist all that power? Like is she really going to bring down Providence, or is she going to get corrupted or whatever?
Hmm.
And then when he like finally gives himself up, if you do choose to use the serum, I believe it's 47 who says this is what it means to lose everything.
Mm.
And then he injects him. Because it is like seconds after you inject him, he sits down in the chair and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot what we were talking about."
Yeah.
And 47's just like, "It doesn't matter. We were finished." And he like walks out the room. But you leave him alive with no memories. Like that's so much more fucked up than killing him.
Yeah, you leave I think that's why I felt bad, not bad, but I was like, "Woo, kind of fucked." Like you leave him alive with no memories in an isolated train car in the wintry mountains of Romania,
Yeah,
and
because you pull the brakes and then leave
he's
the train car there on the bridge.
yeah, so he's not going to be okay. He doesn't deserve to be okay.
No.
But yeah, I think that's what I did the first time. The second time he says, "Do what you came here to do," and I just threw a screwdriver at him because that's my, other than the fish, that's my tool,
Yeah.
my main tool in Hitman is like screwdrivers are so fucking powerful in this game.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, it's
just did
either
that.
it's either that or I'll just shoot him in the back of the head if I don't use the serum.
Yeah. And then possibly the wildest of all the mission exits in this is 47 pulls the brakes when the train car stops. He just walks out into the tundra like,
Yeah, you see him climbing down the steps on the side of the train engine
and
and
he's just,
off into the snow.
yep. And he's fine. He's fine. Even if he's just wearing the hospital gown from the beginning of the level, he's fine.
Yeah. You see only silent assassin. It's not even really a hospital gown. It's like spandex like half pants, and your torso is just covered with like electrodes and
Yeah,
wires.
right.
So you don't even have like a hospital gown covering.
But he's fine.
But yeah, he's
Yeah,
totally cool.
he'll be fine. He walks out, and story wise, it is 47's completed his mission, and now it kind of leaves off because there is the DLC level Ambrose Island, which we're probably not going to talk a whole lot about, but that's not after this canonically in
Yeah.
the story. So this is the end of the Hitman story as we know it to date, where 47 walks out and you're like, he's accomplished his thing. And it goes to credits, I think, like right after that, right?
There's a little bit of a cutscene, and I actually think that like canonically it is freelancer mode that takes place after
That's what
the
I
events of
was
this,
getting to that
because
as like a possibility. Yeah.
the closing cutscene is like a I believe it's like a 1 year later thing. In a couple of previous cutscenes, we've seen that Diana, as she's been plotting, thinking through her options and plotting how to like become the constant, she's like taken up a residence out in this like cabin in the snowy wilderness or whatever.
Hmm.
And so like I think the final closing cutscene is like a 1 year later, we see 47 like running through some snowy woods, uh, and I think they're having a conversation, like a phone conversation, like that, or something like that.
Hmm.
Uh, and she like specifically calls him, like she says something like, "It's been a while, 47," and he says, "I'm That's not who I am anymore," which always makes me laugh because it's like, if you choose to stop being called 47, what are they? Are you going to be just like be Bill? Like who? Like
Yeah.
what's? You don't have a name. Like can you imagine calling this guy by any normal human person's name?
No, you'd have to pick something outrageous. Like you'd have to be like, my name's Elvis now or some shit, you know?
Yeah. Uh, and so then so now finally 47 gets his chance to monologue. And like what we're watching is he approaches the cabin, he goes in, Diana's not there, there's a phone, and it turns out like what we're hearing is a conversation that he's having on the phone because she's already off planning their next job or whatever.
Hmm.
And he gets to monologue a little bit about how, I choose this because I can,
Yeah.
like, yeah, we did a good thing. I think the implication is that we've brought down Providence. Diana has been able to bring down Providence, or at least make substantial progress in that.
Hmm.
But without the ICA, what can 47 do? Well, there will always be people like them, so there
Yeah.
will always be people like us. And
Hmm.
so the implication is that like he and Diana, after a year off maybe, have come back together to work together, not for the ICA, but for themselves. And I
Yeah.
think that's what kind of like narratively leads into freelancer mode.
Yeah. And she's your handler in freelancer mode too. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But that part at the end kind of leaves you with that, like, oh, they actually did it. Can 47 be anything else? And the answer is like kind of not really, but now he's doing it on his terms. So
Right. Which is also interesting because like we've talked so much about how he can do anything.
yeah, it's like if he wants to join a rock
Technically,
band,
like skills wise, he
yeah,
could do anything he wanted.
right. Yeah, I'm trying to think of something like he could go apply and get accepted into NASA tomorrow, you know?
Right?
Like anything he wants.
But he has I think what's really what's I think the like the core of his like narrative, his character arc is, aside from freeing himself from like being a tool for other people,
Yeah.
is that like he comes to know and appreciate the specific qualities that he has that allows him to be an assassin. He
Mhm.
understands that he lacks an otherwise typical human empathy,
Mhm.
but comes to recognize that as an asset that can be used to, in some small way, make the world a better place.
Yeah, cuz that's what you're doing in Freelancer again, like
Yeah, you're
you're
taking
taking out.
down crime syndicates.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
They're not as richly developed, but they're still described as being like the pretty awful people
right.
out there.
Exactly. So 47 has an endless array of people in front of him that need to go. So there's still a place in the world for 47.
It's also a convenient way to end the story that doesn't like require IOI to like never make another Hitman game.
Yeah, or
Like
reboot
even
it
if they,
again. Yeah.
yeah, or reboot it again. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be curious. They've got the Bond game that's almost out. So they're almost, done with that post-launch stuff. I don't know, DLC for that, whatever. At a certain point, IOI, or maybe they're doing it at the same time, because I think they had multiple teams, one doing Hitman, one doing Bond pre-production. I wonder what else. Because I don't know if there's more Hitman or if they're going to try something else.
Yeah, I feel like those kinds of conversations happen so far in advance that it would be unlikely that they've not talked about anything.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
There.
I would be very curious to know if like if what's next for the Hitman franchise looks like a new game or just more content for World of Assassination.
Yeah.
Either
It.
way, I'd be happy with it.
Yeah. I don't know what a new game would bring to the table that, like, six
This
more
game doesn't feel
levels.
dated enough yet.
Right. The act of playing it still feels really good. So like if they just put out like 5 levels as a pack, and maybe a new story, I don't know. But they've
Yeah, or
already.
mini campaigns like the Patient Zero campaigns, but on
Yeah.
fresh maps. Give me
Hmm.
3, 4 levels at a time instead of 8.
Right.
I'm cool with that.
Once the release cycle, promotion cycle, post launch support is like kind of wrapped up for 007, I'd be surprised if we didn't hear anything relatively soon after that for their
Yeah.
next game. And they've had teams this whole time continuing to make, like, as we're recording this, they just put out a Resident Evil related celebrity DLC thing
Oh,
with
which I meant to mention because that takes place on Dartmoor.
oh, does it?
That's a really good one. It's both Resident Evil themed and also kind of like a follow up to the Patient Zero campaign. It's called Patient Zero Requiem,
Okay. Oh, nice. Yeah.
but it brings back the sort of like virus spreading mechanic. Like Mila
Hmm.
Jovovich like injects herself with the bioweapon and then starts spreading it to all the other people at this party that's happening at
At
what is
Dartmoor.
Dartmoor
Yeah.
in the main campaign.
I should get on that. I do get an itch sometimes to play more Hitman. So I should get on those celebrity things. Whatever's still available. So I honestly, I think that we've been going for a while, and I also don't have a ton to say about Ambrose Island as a DLC map. I had fun playing it. I liked doing it, and I was just, it's kind of like Christmas getting a new Hitman level. Um, but I don't remember, like, I remember like flashbulb memories of what I did there. I mean, it was like 3 or 4 years ago now at this point. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't have a ton to say about it other than like it's a Hitman level. It's fun. Um, but
It mostly
it's
felt good to get a new one.
yeah.
But
Um,
yeah, I'm with you. It doesn't. It's another one that doesn't have any mission stories. It canonically happens towards the end of Hitman 2. So if you open up like the destinations menu, they've actually moved it back there
oh, okay.
instead of keeping it at the end of the list. And I think I mentioned this during the break, but like I have probably played it more as a freelancer level because it is in the freelancer rotation
Hmm.
than I have played it with like its actual targets. And so I'm pretty fuzzy on the details of taking them out too, but it is a neat map. Like it's a jungle map. It feels like a I don't know, like a smaller nighttime Santa Fortuna.
Yeah. I'm trying to. I might have these mixed up in my head, but is this the one that has like some ruins that you go into, or is that Santa Fortuna?
This one does have some ruins, I
Okay,
think.
it might be that one. I remember doing some stuff in a boathouse, like trying to create an oil leak and an explosion in a boathouse. For like, I spent like probably a half hour just doing that, trying to get that to work. I remember there's like a bunch of houses around, and just going through the houses, having a good time.
There is a two things that just flashed into my memory. There is like a kind of a central village area, and one of the main targets that you're there to take out is a guy that used to work with Lucas Gray. So he's another one of those like militia kind of types.
Hmm.
And so the map is crawling with like militia style guards, and there's not a lot to do, so they're kind of hanging out in this town square getting drunk and having slap fights. Like
Yeah.
there's like a bench where they
Yes,
keep
I
people
do
keep coming
remember
up to each
this.
other and whacking each other in the face a couple times, and whoever, and so 47 can of course get in there and do the little slapping mini game. And if you like fuck up like 3 guys in a row, it'll get the attention of your target, and he'll come over and be like, I want to talk to that guy. And so if you go talk to him, he'll like lead you away to a secluded area to be like, I need a guy for a job, and you seem like you got what it takes, which
Hmm.
there might be more details than that, but like that just cracks me up that like this militia guy is like, he sees you slap some dudes and it's like, that guy, it's tough stuff.
He slaps real hard. I need him on my side. Yeah.
But he takes you away around a corner where there's like an oil barrel. So if you create a leak there, then like he'll light a cigarette during the conversation and blow himself up or something like that.
Hell yeah.
And then the other thing is the Agent Smith. Is that his name? The guy that we help a couple of times. He shows up in Hokkaido in the morgue. You have to save him from being trapped in the morgue drawer. He shows up in this one too. He's captured, and you have to like let him out, and he like gives you a little bit of a tip and then scampers off into the jungle or whatever.
Nice.
But anytime he shows up is very funny. He's like just that the other agent that always needs your help getting out of jams.
Love it. Should replay that level too. But I think that, look at us, over 3 hours again talking about Hitman. We just can't help ourselves.
We tried so hard.
we didn't try that hard, but it's we could do another 3-4 hours easily talking about these levels. So it's been a lot of fun as always going through these and going level by level and just hearing about all the cool shit that's in there. Is always a lot of fun. So thanks as always.
Yeah, man. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for having me. I mean, I love talking any games with you, but Hitman in particular, I can just unpack these little puzzle boxes all day long.
Absolutely.
And I think this batch is just what we said at the start. I think they really landed the plane and nicely to tie up the end of this trilogy.
Absolutely. And we have tied up our Hitman podcast episode trilogy.
Finally.
A long time coming. We honestly, we should have done this years ago at this point, but it just took me a long time to be like, I need to play Hitman again and do the show. So
you got a lot of other games to play, so I get it.
A lot of other games to play, but it's not like it's hard to convince me to play Hitman. Like, I love this. It was just like, never felt like I wanted to, or is the right time or something like that. The 007 release date was the thing where it was like, okay, it's time. Let's do this before the 007 game comes out. Partly because I was interested in replaying this and seeing those things where we were like, this feels like I might do something similar in their Bond game. So we'll see how that game turns out. I'm going to play it because I don't know about you. Like, if it were most other studios, I don't know if I would be very excited about a new Bond game. Like, I kind of don't care about Bond that much.
Even when I heard about it, I was pretty lukewarm on it. And like, I have only just gotten more and more excited about it the more I've learned and the more they've like released dev diary type stuff. Like, it looks even cooler than I could have anticipated. It looks different enough from Hitman that I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll give that a shot.
It's really just like, Bond is not the selling point. IO Interactive is the selling point for me, which is crazy, but that's the way it is now, at least for me. So
I look forward to playing it. I look forward to hearing what you think.
Yeah, because if I play a game, it's going to end up on the show at a certain point. So thanks again, Scott. Been a great time going through Hitman 3 with you. And for everyone who's still with us here at the end, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. You're my hero. Yeah, champs. Again, please, if you played a lot of Hitman, jump in Discord, tell us about the cool stuff that you've done in this game and in the first two games too. I'm just down to talk about Hitman stuff anytime. That's it. Tune in next week for the next game to come out of the backlog.
Hey everyone, my name's Darren Hupke. I'm a writer, publisher, and podcaster. My podcast is called Pixels and Polygons. Each week I sit down with a guest and ask one simple video game question. It's a random topic each week and it leads to a fun conversation. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform every Friday, and you can read more about it at pixelsandpolygons.net.
Listen to Flashback 64, the chronological Nintendo 64 podcast. Hosts Gooey, McKenna, and friends flashback to the 90s and early 2000s with a look at the Nintendo 64's catalog and its contemporary cultural and historical context. Starting with the console's launch titles and proceeding in release order, we discuss classics like GoldenEye, Super Mario 64, and Star Fox 64, as well as some not-so-beloved games, lesser-known titles, and everything in between. Along with game-specific deep dives, we also cover other bits of pop culture from the time, like films, music, and more. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.